Don't use 6,000 DPI. All right, guys, we're kicking off Silver League. And of course, we're going to be continuing the same build order from the previous section in Bronze. What are we really adding at this point? Well, guys, do keep in mind that something we've noted, if you guys look through, is obviously our scouting. I'm hoping we run into some more one-base openings so that we can do our one-base response. What's our one-base response, guys? If the Zerg has... Sorry, not that one. It's up here. Where's our one-base response gone? Here. If at 3:30 they don't have an expansion, keep warping in units and models on top and just drop a shield battery or two. So it's really basic, but it also is going to give us the impetus to say, hey, it's pretty important I look around with my observer. It's pretty important to check it out. All right, guys, start building a probe. Add the Nexus to control group. For me, control 7. And then we are going to, of course, rally that down there. Queue up another probe, and then another probe after that as well, of course. We want to make sure those probes are queued up. Actually, sorry, we don't queue up that next probe yet. What am I talking about? Got to build a pylon first, make sure those power fields are touching the edge. Mine minerals, go back to the front. Now we queue up the extra probes, change that rally point back. And of course, now we queue up those 2 probes. Now, we are up against a random player. What does that change? Nothing. This is the great thing about having a really just like standard, solid one-size-fits-all build order for now, is we don't really care. So we build the gateway, we added that to our control group. Chrono boost. And we can, of course, take a gas, shift click it back. Now remember, guys, we've already gone control F1, control F2, control F3. I'm selecting my Nexus and building probes during this. Cute little habit you guys can build while you're going around to set up your camera locations. You can select your Nexus and add probes if you want to. Let's put a guy on gas, rally this guy down there. Remember, we'll queue up 2 more probes, 20 supply. Now that there is a spawning pool. So our opponent has done an early pool. Oh my God. We're not going to respond at all because it's a bit above our pay grade for now, guys. We're just going to do our completely standard build. So we're going to build a Nexus. And then we will get the Nexus, shift 7, double tap 7, control F2. So that's how we center our camera location. Build the cyber core. And then we're going to go back up here, keep building probes. Now, what we do want to do is we're going to put a probe down there just to see if he comes down to expand and if any Zerglings come out. Okay. Normally we do a proper response to this, but we're not going to bother. And the reason is, even though I've written up the correct response to an early pull in the document, I am 100% sure that it's a bad idea for you guys to actually respond until you're a bit higher level. Now, that's a bunch of Zerglings. That looks kind of scary, right? It does look kind of scary. We're going to do one very basic reaction. So first of all, we're going to build an Adept instead of a Stalker, guys. We will still chrono warp gate. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the rally point in the wall off, okay? We're going to build a Robo and a shield battery. And then what do we do? Continue your build order. Change nothing, okay? Keep building probes and continue your build order. I'm just going to build Stalkers after that Adept. Just the normal units. Adepts are better versus Zerglings, Stalkers are better versus Roaches, but Stalkers are a bit more general purpose. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this Adept and we're going to go move it back in the wall and we're going to go hold position, okay? Whew. Now, stop wasting time thinking about it. Let's chrono probes. I actually chronoed both next side there. Select the Robo, control 4. The gateway's on control 5. Awesome. What do we do, guys? 33 supply, so we are needing a few more gateways, but because I did the double chrono, I want to make sure I've got probes building. So we're just delaying it just a moment. Oops, cancel that. I don't like that. You guys know I'm a bit anal about my positioning. Build a few more probes. We do need to build a pylon after those gateways because I don't have the money. We always want to keep probes producing. So select the next light and keep tapping that probe button. Shift 5, and now we can build that pylon. Just chuck that up there. It should be fine. Build pylon, back to mining. And let's make an observer. Chrono boost that. Your observer's always going to see if there's any sort of follow-up, guys. If there's anything you have to worry about, okay? I'm actually going to chrono this Stalker as well, just because you can see Warp Gate's already almost done, so I want to get the 3rd gateway unit out as quickly as possible. Alright. Now that Observer's going to go across, we can start the Immortal, and notice, guys, if I rally that there, the Immortal might pop on the outside, so what we can do is we can rally there, shift rally there, just to make sure Immortals pop on the inside, okay? Now we're going to add these guys to control 1, keep building probes, let's build a pylon, You can see we're almost saturated on the natural here. So we could go for the gases, but actually it's a bit early. Cancel that. Bye. What have we not done, guys? Does this look right? No, no, no. Let's make 3 more stalkers first, okay? That pylon's almost ready. We'll just wait a moment for that to finish. And there we go. So as that immortal comes out, we can just box these guys. That's our army. And now we can continue. So we can build 2 probes. We can build another pylon. What else do we do, guys? Twilight Council. Queue that down. And we can queue a few more dudes. So we can go, you guys go on gas. And you can do this ahead of time. Even though it's not finished, they'll start mining when that gas is finished. Better to do it ahead of time than late. And notice we've got 2 more probes building. That'll bring us up to 44, which is all we need. And what do we do after that? It's our favorite part of the build! Gateway, 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 gateway! Then, what do we do after that, guys? Whoa, 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 I was gonna be cornered there. Notice I just gave that probe a move command because we were about to surround ourselves. Gotta be careful. Careful, mate. Then we build more gateways. After that, we build more gateways. We control click them, shift 5, and let's look at this. Wow, that's a lot of Zerglings. So our opponent is building a massive slow Zerglings and drones. Now, Zealots are really good versus slow Zerglings. Let's make charge, make the Templar Archives, and remember, let's back up Artosis with a few of these friends. And behind this, we can make an Immortal, and then a Warp Prism. So we're going to try and chrono this as much as possible because we need that Warp Prism before we attack, remember? Now remember, guys, something we could add in, and I'm going to do it this game, is if you guys keep struggling, people keep going Banshees, flying units, invisible units, we can throw a Forge in there as well, and definitely just putting a cannon down in each mineral line can be really useful. I don't think it's something we should do by default, but I'm going to get the Forge this game just to kind of show what that might look like, okay? Building like a cannon at each base as we go out. People pointing out this is a bit of an Artosis pylon as well. So after you've got these first pylons to just give you plenty of space to build buildings, putting pylons here so you can put a cannon in each mineral line is nice. But then also, oh, this pylon's kind of isolated, so we could put another pylon up there potentially, you know. A few more pylons there, it's all fine. Cool. Keep building Zealots, guys. Control click, shift 1. Grab the Warp Prism. And let's once again move forward. So where do we want to move to? We're going to aim move to about here. Move the prism, right click, shift, phasing mode. And if we want, we can build those cannons that I mentioned. I don't actually think we need these at all, but just throw it in there. It's not the end of the world. Now we see Hydralisks coming out as well. Cool. So what we're going to do, guys, I'm going to move this guy up here, and we're going to put him on pervert mode. Gas, we've got enough gas to make as many Archons as I could ever want. So let's control click those. Oh, actually we are on an odd number, which means we have 1 High Templar cheer squad, but I just hit 150 gas, so I'll make 1 more. Shift 1. Alright, we want to move that prism in deep, so we've queued that up once again, right click siege mode. And remember, we don't attack around a corner, we move into the open, let our units group up so they're like kind of straight on with that ramp, and now we can attack, move up that ramp, okay? And look at these units, they're all kind of stuck behind each other, so we're going to right click forward, then aim. Now they're all fighting. Right click forward and then A move. And then what do we do, guys? We go back to our Warp Prism. Remember, by the way, guys, I can go between my bases. I also have camera location 6 at my ramp, but I can set that up on my Warp Prism instead. So then I can just go, oh, I'm macroing, I'm doing other things, and then I can just jump to my warp in thing and warp in at the front. And that's something that I tend to always set up, is I'll actually siege it up and go Control F6. So that I can easily get there as well. So once again, guys, we just won there with the power of overwhelming numbers, hitting this 8-minute timing, and, you know, it's been reasonably chill. So, when do you add the 3rd base? All right, that's a good idea. I did say I wanted to talk about that. So, I mean, we don't need to ever do that. We could just kill people on 2 base. But you know what, guys? I think in, like, maybe Silver 1 will start adding the 3rd behind it. Maybe even before then. Honestly, all the stuff I'm showing you guys, honestly, you're going to have to spend way more time developing all of these skills than I'm spending on each thing, right? For me, I'm going to zoom through things, whereas you're going to need a lot more reps on them, obviously. Because, you know, I've already got the muscle memory, right? And if I was to show you accurate, this is like, think of it as a montage, right? No one wants to watch someone actually doing wax on, wax off for the hundreds or thousands of hours it takes to get good at it, right? So just remember that you guys will need to put in a lot more practice and time to make it muscle memory. But yeah, so this is a pretty solid opening. It's kind of a bummer that our opponents haven't really put any adversity our way, but I guess that's something I should really be expecting. It's almost like there's too little to do right now. So you know what, guys? How about we introduce a really, I mean, it's still too early, even here in Silver League. I'm like, I was like, maybe I do some Adept Harass, and I'm like, that's just, I should not be doing Adept Harass this early, guys. Oof. Okay, I'll have a little discussion after this game of other details, but until then, guys, just camera keys there. This guy goes control group 2, so we've got main base, natural, 3rd, 4th, 5th, front of the base. We're gonna go Nexus and then Cyber Core. Remember, we're pausing probes on 20, same as always. The tighter you get this opening, the better. Build the Cyber Core, back to gas. Resume probe production, and yet again, guys, we've got another opponent who doesn't like my probe hanging out here, so I'm going to queue him around the map and then back to the same spot. So we're still trying to get the same scouting information, but we're not as committed to it, okay? So we go 21-second gas, 22-second pylon. Higher chance of this probe surviving and getting back to see if that expansion goes down. All we've scouted for now, opponents' buildings are in their base, we don't have to worry about a proxy, everything is normal. So guys, add to control group 7, so shift 7, double tap 7, control F2. Warp gate and stalker, chrono boost both of them. The reason we do that is if we do get in any trouble or something surprises us, it just gives us a bit earlier warp gate, a bit earlier stalker, makes us a little bit safer, okay guys? And, ooh, our opponent's gone for an expand. That's all we needed to see, so we can bring that probe home. And that's all we need to do. We can build another stalker. We can chrono boost our natural, as we always do. And what do we do, guys? A robo. So you'll notice my robo goes down after the second stalker starts. If you want, you could pause the first stalker and then get it. Just find a pattern that works for you every game. And because we're just trying to keep up stalker production, we're keeping this really simple and doing it this way, okay? What do we do next, guys? 33 supply. Doesn't matter if it's 34, just anywhere around there. We're going to go 2 gateways and then a pylon. So we're going to control click those, shift 5. Build a pylon out here, massive production space, and go back to mining. Add more probes here. You can see that we're low on probe production right now. I'd like to build one more stalker. We're going to control group 4 the robo. Keep building probes. Going to build an observer, rally that across the map and chrono boost it. Build a few more probes. Let's get one more pylon up here just for even more production space. Beautiful. And remember, guys, warp gate plus 3rd stalker. See, they're pretty close together. So you should get a lot of satisfaction out of that. That tells you you're doing things really well. Observer, going to go sit at the front of the base. Because that means, guys, we get the Immortal out and the 3 stalkers. 4 minutes 30, we're going to have an Immortal, 6 stalkers. This is a very good little force to defend any early attacks or harassment. Shift 1. And what do we do behind this, guys? Once you've done that, Twilight Council. Get one more pylon just to make sure we don't get supply blocked. We'll get the double gases as our natural's getting saturated. We can glance at the observer, and you know what, guys? I'm getting bored with the build. Let's take a look around. Let's summarize what our opponent's up to. They've gone observer as well. So look, they're doing the same build, except they've got 2 forges and a Twilight Council and a Robo Bay. So these are big signs of greed. And all this does is it convinces me that my attack is going to work. Because I'm not going any forges, they've gone double forge. Okay, that's a massive investment. It's not going to pay off for a long time. They've also gone Robo Bay as well. So they're going 3 double upgrades and an extra tech structure. I mean, this is crazy investment. And this is what you run into on the ladder, is people just doing crazy, greedy things that you can't really get away with. Yeah, we're only building 1 observer, guys. When do you get 1 observer for their base and 1 for your army? If you're playing 3 base onwards in the mid game, something like that, where you might actually need detection. So guys, we're going to control click those gateways, shift 5. Let's get that Templar Archives. Add those pylons. We're at 44 probes, so we are totally fine here. And what are we doing, guys? Let's build another Immortal. We can start warping in Zealots, adding those to our army, add the Immortal to the army. And let's just put this Observer back here. We can just set him up on Pervert Vision, but because he has his own Observer, we don't want to go too close. If you want, you can go a little close, but you don't want to get any closer than that. Okay. So remember, we do this, keep chrono boosting and making a Warp Prism next up. And we can add that to our army. There's... So the fact is, we're already doing a well-timed attack that should just kill most people, but the fact that he's also investing in all this macro shenanigans, guys, oh, this is just huge. Make a few more Zealots. Remember, we've just done a couple kind of mini rounds of warp-ins, so we definitely need to be making lots more pylons. 4 or 5 pylons would be good. Just waiting for that money. Flicking them back. Grab the Warp Prism, control group 2. A move to the staging zone. Tell the Prism to right-click and then shift phasing mode. Yeah, this is a no upgrade build. If you're doing a 2-base attack that's really committed, there's no reason to make upgrades for this, guys. More important to just get a lot of stuff. The longer the game goes, the more important upgrades are gonna be. But there's no reason that we should be letting the game go that long. We're making an attack as strong as it possibly can be. You always want to do things with a reason. So if we're committing super hard to a 2-base attack, there's no reason to be getting a +1 upgrade with that. Would it be nice? Yeah, it wouldn't be bad. But it complicates the build order, makes things a lot harder to actually hit on the right time. So instead, guys, let's move that Prism forward, move our army forward, and let's go for it. Hey, boo! And what do we do, guys? We want more Zealots warping in during the fight. Let's move these guys forward. Oh, look at this, guys. Let's go click this gateway to open up. So we opened up a wall there. My opponent appears to be doing my own build order. Control click, shift 1. So my opponent's actually got a lot of stuff. Let's kill this other gateway just to get in. And now we can move in on top. And it looks like my opponent actually even had double Robo Colossus on the way. 1/1 upgrades. This player is sick. Really nice macro. I mean, I don't know if this is vibe stuff or what. GG, well played. But we can see that they were just going in so many directions at once. And going way too greedy, right? Which, to be fair, is not the worst thing, because they were building an army that scales pretty well with like Colossus and stuff in there, and they weren't building Stalkers. But just zero kind of situational awareness and too much greed. So my opponent, I am so impressed with their macro, and they are developing some really nice skills. But what they could really use here is actually using their macro for something. And this is something which so many people just do not get. And over the years of teaching, I still get people going, wouldn't it be better to do this because that makes a better army? And I think people just have this idea that if you have a better piece of equipment, it's better. And they don't seem to understand that timing is all that matters in StarCraft, right? So People kind of have this view where they almost can only see having 2/2 Colossus, Archon, Immortal 23 minutes into the game is going to be the best thing. And I go, well, yeah, but I mean, how are you getting there? And they're like, well, I don't know, I'll just go to that and hopefully survive things. And it's like, well, what if I actually have a nice, beautiful streamline attack? And I actually hit pretty early this time, guys. My build was a little bit better this time, even. I didn't hit with as many units, but you can see that I hit quite a bit faster this time, actually. So we've actually improved our benchmark quite a bit. Let's see how many. I had a lot less Zealots this time, though. Not nearly as many Zealots, but we got the Immortals and the Archons out much quicker. So it's just one of those things where it's like, wait a second. If I'm committing to a big, giant 2-base attack, low on tech, and you're defending, I mean, the thing is, it takes more understanding and flexibility to defend than macro, right? So let me point out why my opponent lost, because my opponent is one of the few players who I don't think has had any worse macro than me. Not by much anyway, if at all. Though you can see wasn't really chrono boosting. What my opponent lacks here is adapting to the environment. So the thing is, if my opponent stopped on 2 bases, 44 probes, and decided to play double Robo Colossus Charge Zealot, with the double upgrades, that would be them being greedy as shit. Because they're going upgrades and tech way ahead of me, right? 2 Robos, Robo Bay, and Double Forge, massive commitment. It's going to be hard for them to hang on, but with the power of the gateways, they might. But to add on top of that, I'm also going to take a 3rd base, both gases on it, and go Templar Archives against a guy who's sitting on 2 base. What you want to think about here is the first concept. And this is where our opponent's mistakes are at least giving us some material to teach from, right? Which is awesome. So let's talk about this. Okay. So let's go silver. We'll go below all this. And this, we're going to keep grabbing from that list for cool things. Silver 3 session. Okay. Game on Berlingrad first. I think his name was Low-Key, right? So basically, Low-Key was dead even on macro. Then got ahead on Double Forge and RoboBay. Big investment in upgrades and better tech for the long game. This is probably okay and defendable, right? With defender's advantage if they stayed on the same base and workers as me, okay? That was not you? Oh, what's up? We got a Low-Key in the chat. That's hilarious. However, my opponent, what did they do, guys? They also went 20 probes higher than me, and a 3rd base, and double gases on it. Is that a defendable advantage? What are we even talking about? What is this whole concept about? What we're talking about here, guys, is what is a safe lead? Okay. Welcome to StarCraft. Let's go to my Welcome to StarCraft playlist, shall we, guys? What is a safe lead? I'm sure I talk about this at some point, right? Is it this one? Or is this just talking about... Everything's going to kind of grind to a halt. Let's jump deeper into this game now. The game's progressed quite a bit. And whilst the economic start was fantastic... Okay, I'm not going to go through my own content. Anyways, there's definitely videos out there. I think understanding the game state is also one we can recommend. So let me get that link. So I'm going to put that link in here, guys. Basically, this is an old Pig Daily video. And essentially, for a more detailed explanation, you can listen to that video. But essentially, it's like how far ahead in economy or tech or upgrades can we go without dying because their army is just way bigger than ours, okay? So if you want to think of this, right, think of it like a set of scales that is balanced as you both pump units out of 3 gates and Robo, right? If we think of this game in the early stages, that's what it was. Remember, I scouted a 3-gate Robo and I was like, oh, we've kind of done the same build. Remember, I came in with my Observer and I was like, oh, we've actually got the same thing. And look, guys, almost identical probes here. We were very even on workers. I'd built a few more units, but then I came in and I went, wait a second, but you're not actually pumping out of those. So I'm producing units, you're not, number one, right? So they're not actually using their production. Number two, though, even if they were, they're now going to start dumping money into all these tech structures, right? I'm getting charged as well. We're both going to get charged. Mine's a little later, but they're getting RoboBay Double Forge. So that's a pretty big investment. So the important thing there is that that's okay if they don't get greedy in other regards. But when they also build 10, 15, 20 more workers than me with an extra base, and they're going not just 1-1, but 2-2, and then they get a second Robo, that's where it becomes too greedy. So how do we want to break this down into a general kind of thing that we can remember? So a general rule would be 10 workers is a safe lead, right? Now, obviously, if you're in a certain situation, your units might counter their units. And so maybe you can push your lead further. Or maybe you already did some damage to them, you're further ahead, you can push your lead to 20 or 30 workers, right? But if you're going to go 10, 15, 20 workers ahead and go way up on the upgrades and all those other things, it's going to be bad. So at high level, right? At high level, you're constantly scouting and checking to make sure you aren't being too greedy. If you're going double upgrades and they aren't going any, you'll be very conservative on your workers and other tech to make sure you don't expose yourself to dying. This is way too advanced for a silver player. This is way too advanced for a silver player, guys. This is why we just hit well-organized timing attacks to kill shit. Okay? This is why we take a bit of good macro and then we say, from there, I could try to do 4-dimensional chess and balance how many workers, how much economy, how much tech, or we could go to a pre-planned attack timing and kill them. Or at the very least, do an attack and then macro behind them. The next step will be macroing behind the attack, where we maybe even start a third base and double forge before the attack goes in, and hold down the probe key during the attack so we can get a third base, 1-1 upgrades, and then go for round 2. Now, there's a lot of asymmetry and details with these general rules, right? 10 workers versus Terran is just even because they've got mules. You can be down on workers significantly versus Zerg if they're massing basic units like Lings and Roaches and you're making like Immortals and Colossus and Archons because you're making way higher tech units. So there's all these things that make this situation very hard to weigh up. And so it's going to take a while to build your game knowledge. But this is why in general, it's always good to take any greed or any early economy focus and maybe go a little greedy. Maybe go even a decent bit greedy, but then use that greed to launch into a big army and a big attack. And that's naturally going to keep you safe versus most things because you're not extending the greedy gap. Whereas what did our opponent do in this game, guys? Our opponent made only 2 Stalkers and an Observer. 2 Observers even, but then they've got no units, right? If I even came in here with a couple of Adepts or Zealots, they'd struggle with it. They made so few units in the early stage. And remember, I'm doing the same thing to some extent, but not nearly as greedy. We're going 6 Stalkers in the model. So we've got a better set of units up earlier when they only have 2 Stalkers. We have 6 Stalkers in the model. But then we cut unit production, and we are greedy for a little bit, but not for long. We're greedy so we can finish our 2 base of workers. We stop economy completely. We make a ton of gateways, and then we go for a big attack. What does my opponent do during that period? Do they close the greedy gap? They make a few Zealots, and then they just keep making upgrades, and they make it for Robo, and they make a third, and they hold the probe key down, and the greed just kind of continues. And I look at this, and I say, well, Pig, how do I avoid that? And I go, you need an attack. Even if you're in Diamond, even if you're in Masters, even if you're in GM, you should always have an attack you're leading to. Because if you're leading to a clean, clear, crisp, pre-planned attack, it's going to be simply a guiding light that makes sure you're efficient in a certain direction. Otherwise, you're going to do a little bit of everything. And in StarCraft, a little bit of everything is one of the least effective ways to play. Because if you're going for a bit of everything, you have no clear edge over your opponent, you have no clear advantage, you have no clear way of ruining your opponent, of messing them up, of throwing them off. You're just sitting in your corner, trying to make some mythical idea of, oh, this will be the perfect army at some point. And there's so many things that will feel unfair, like what I just did to my opponent here, where it doesn't feel, what's happening? He just A-moves me with some friggin' units and just lots of Zealots? This doesn't feel fair. But if my opponent, instead of taking that third, geared up for like a 2-2 Colossus timing on 2 base, they'd be in a much better situation. So this is why you've got to learn to do attacks. You've got to be willing to lose games attacking, making mistakes, because it's going to allow you to kill your opponent, leverage your advantages, force mistakes, and this also scouts things, guys. If my opponent's going mass air, I'm going to get in here, kill some probes, know they're going mass air, and have time to respond to it. So this is kind of that flow that we want to get into of hitting these attacks as a building block. What are we going to start doing next, guys? Just because I'm already getting bored of this attack. It's so easy to execute. It's so easy. Protoss macro is so cinchy, guys. After doing Terran Bronze to GM, there's just too much clicking. Oh, Protoss is all about using your brain. Protoss is much just less actions that we need to do. There's just less clicking of things and all that sort of stuff. I've still got 120 APM. Most of that is from what, guys? It's rapid fire. Every time I warp in, that's shooting up to probably 500 APM or higher, right? Because it's warps in 10 zealots in an instant. It's building 6 gateways and just click, 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 and then going back to mining, right? There is a bit of accuracy and so on. You're not going to be as fast. I think what you guys are seeing, though, is if you're starting out in bronze or silver, you don't need to be anywhere near as fast as me, because these games aren't even close. Protoss has the best tools, but only if you know how to use them. We have a whole huge list in the document of all the fancy units that we're going to have to start unpacking from as soon as Gold League onwards. Which means, actually, let's add a sentry with our timing attack in the next game. It's never too early to introduce some of those units. So we're going to introduce the most basic one, which is just get a Guardian Shield. All right, guys. Yeah, nice. All right, guys, sorry. We didn't send a probe down here. It's all right. Not the end of the world. Let's get that pylon on the edge of the ramp. Like that. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Was just reading chat, catching up. Yeah, good stuff. I'm a total war player, not a civilization player. Thank you very much. Nice, nice. All right, guys. Camera location 1, camera location 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I just kind of blitzed that while we were reading chat. Build a gateway, go for a scout, do a chrono boost, make a gas, and keep building probes here, guys. Very, very chill. Very, very chill. Do we split the probes at the start? Yeah, that's what happens when I'm reading chat. That's muscle memory. For anyone, by the way, we give this speech at least a few times in every Bronze Gym. How are you limiting your play to be in bronze or silver? I'm not. I'm a Grandmaster X Pro player. But in a Bronze to GM, aren't you showing us how to win our league? All right, so guys, there's a probe hiding in my base. Let's just make sure he's not building anything there and then continue my build. Nexus, add that to the camera location. What are you doing, mate? It's cannon rushing me. So guys, we're just gonna A-move a few probes, okay? Behind this, Cybercore, and then continue probing. Same as always, guys. And if you just attack cannon, notice they get stuck, guys. So we grab the box, the back two, right click, shift, target, attack that, okay? So what do we want to do behind this? Keep building probes. Take a pylon, second gas. We're going to go back to mining. We're just going to leave one guy attacking that. Now, why do we go pylon before gas? That's because, as we adjust our saturation here, we want to build a zealot. All right, so we're going to rally a zealot up here just to help defend what's going on. And then we still want to go stalker and warp gate in the near future, okay? Just in case he tries to build on that. So we're just going to make sure that zealot kills it, okay? So we'll chrono boost that, chrono boost the stalker, chrono boost the warp gate. 16, 3, 3, and we go back to mining here. Okay. Now I don't know if he's expanded behind this or anything like that, but we are going back to a completely standard game. We're not focusing on anything else he does. We're just going A move there, and we can shift A move the zealot back to the front. And what do we do next, guys? The robo. Do not let yourself get distracted. Control 4. Build another stalker there. Shift 1. What are these keybinds? I use the core. I don't recommend you guys use it, but I was not going to play using standard hotkey setup because that would hurt my brain too much. It's too hard for me to commentate if I'm trying to reprogram my muscle memory at the same time. Yeah. 2 gateways. We're going to add those. You'll notice I'm a little higher in supply, guys. You might be like, well, you're doing it late. No, I'm not, guys. Remember, we had to build a zealot. Everything's a little delayed this game, and there's a zealot that we had to build, but my opponent committed to that. So that was not that big a commitment, but let's just assume we're both about 20-30 seconds behind. If there's a bit of an early skirmish or fight like that, you just delay everything by 20-30 seconds. In terms of like, okay, things might not be perfectly lined up. As long as you follow the same order, you're fine. That's the trick. And a lot of people screw that up. They start going off order and go, I gotta do this. And this is why we try to remember the order of things a little bit more than the supply count, right? So, guess what? Immortal. We want to make 3 Stalkers in the near future. Observer. What do we do, guys? Control group 2. So we're going to send that to the front of my opponent's base. See what's up. I don't want to go too far with it. Some of you might know why. It's because if your opponent's... And we'll put that there so we can not get spelled to another power. So basically, right, guys, if your opponent's go on cannons, good chance he builds them at the front of his base as well. So we don't want to just fly the Observer and want to micro it into the base, all right? We'll get a Twilight Council. Remember, kind of important to get that. And then keep building probes. We want the double gas going down. And grab the Immortal, add it to our control group. And what is going on here, guys? Has my opponent not got an expansion? What is going on? What is this? Triple Robo, triple gate, Chad Gamer. And a Silver League cannon by the mineral line. Oh, this is amazing. Okay, this is so cool. All right, we're going to just tell him to go in pervert mode up there. Build a few more probes. I love Low League. It's so much fun. People just do their own cool things. It's awesome. None of this like, no, I've got to copy the meta. Everyone's like, no, I just want to do this thing. I think it's a cool idea. I'm going to do it. So notice, guys, we're doing a new little concept here, which is we're leaving a road in between those gateways so that before my gateways were in one big chunk, this way I can move around my buildings way better. Control click the gateways, shift 5, make charge, chrono boost, make Templar archives, build some backup pylons on those. This pylon at the front, someone kept pointing that out before. Yeah, let's put another pylon there, why not? We're at 44 probes. Shield batteries at the front. I think there might be some cannons going down there soon as well, so we'll pull back a little bit. And let's build another Immortal. Alright, guys. So you know what, guys? Why do you have a hotkey for gateways? Because you need to produce out of them before warp gate finishes. So you'll notice all pro gamers control group them because you want to use the same group for gateways and warp gates. And occasionally you even want to put someone a different group, though that's pretty damn rare. And that way you just want to use a custom group, control group, rather than doing that, especially in cheesy scenarios. There might be games where you don't actually get warp gate for a very long time. Sometimes for as long as 10 minutes. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And it's just much better there. You can also check how many gateways you had, chat's pointed out. Yeah, whereas that only tells you how many gateways are ready to warp in, the select all warp gates button. So definitely an issue. Now guys, let's show you guys the transition version of the build. So rather than being as all in, this time, as we're getting ready to move out, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna take a third base, build a Nexus and a pylon there. We're gonna select the other Nexus and rally them out to it. We're also gonna take a double forge as we're moving across the map. Now, we're still gonna move across and go for a big attack, don't get me wrong. So we'll go up here. Actually, we'll come from the bottom and we'll siege up the prison. Let's add to control groups, shift 7, double tap, control F3, set the rally point, queue up some probes. We don't want to queue up too many probes though. We're also going to control click the forges and control group those. Why do we not want too many? Because obviously we need to be warping the units on the front, guys. So we're going to warp in all those High Templar. We do need one more, otherwise we're going to have a lonely High Templar there. So we want High Templar buddy. So no one should be left out. Control click, shift 1. We're going to move the prism over. And what are we going to do, guys? The exact same thing as always. Hey, move. We're going to do one more Zealot warp in, but after that, we're not going to do any more of that stuff. Okay, guys? So moving right on in there. And remember, we could try to target the shield batteries. If one of those gets all big and shield battery overchargey, we'll click on it. But since that's not happening, it should be okay. We're going to warp in one more round of Zealots. Control click, shift 1. And remember, we're not focusing on starting upgrades or probes yet. We can do that when our attack fizzles out or when we think there's nothing left to micro. Okay? So we're going to A-move into the main once we kill this Nexus. Let's move command up the ramp. If we A-move, look at this, they all get stuck behind each other. So move command, A-move. Move command, A-move. Move command, A-move. Some people like to control group their forges and their nexus together. Some like to put it on their gateway hotkey. I like to put them on my own. It's something I've always enjoyed doing. But if you guys want to put it with your nexus, put it with your forges, your robos, put it with your robos or anything, that's fine. So guys, whenever you're done with the push, we say, okay, we're not going to get much more done there. Or the attack dies, what do we go? We go, boop, boop. We get the 2 upgrades, we chrono boost them. We transfer half the probes out of our main, because that's always going to mine out. About 8 minutes 30, that half mines out. So you want to take 8 workers from the main, send them to the third. We want to queue up about 6 or 7 more workers. Take both gases there, get some more probes. And what are we gearing up for? Exact same attack round 2. So what do? We literally just rebuild the army, but we just plan to hit with a bigger economy behind it and 1-1 upgrades, which we keep forging. Keep chrono boosting those on the forges, okay? So notice we just, with the probe transfer, we actually don't need to go 66 probes. We need to go to about 58 probes. Okay, guys? 58 probes, because you've only got 8 in the main base on minerals, is going to give you 3 base full saturation. Now, if you want, you could take a 4th base there as well. That would allow you to potentially keep on probing a little bit. So we'll queue a few more probes, and we will queue a few more probes up there as well. We can chrono boost those. Obviously, if we wanted to go Colossus, we could make a Robo Bay. I did forget to make the Sentry this game. Should have made a Sentry. And yeah, you could basically just keep making on units and go for the exact same thing. You've just got more ability to reproduce, and your income's going to keep rolling. So it's a little bit less all in if we do it this way. Either way, even if we do it the previous way, if the attack's held or we've got to back off for whatever reason, same thing. Jump home, start the third, start the double forge, make probes, and that's the way to do it. All right, GG's. So I like to put the upgrade buildings together with the base building says Broformers. That helps me see whether the upgrades are still making every time I make workers. So a lot of people talk about this sort of thing. I personally, I would just be wary of, like, most of the time when you're building workers, you shouldn't really be spending too long looking down the bottom. So just be wary. Don't be over checking things like that. That's the one thing I would mention. Don't be over checking that shit. You have to look at them anyway to chrono them. So do try to put them near, if you're using camera locations, near your main or your natural. So it's easy to jump there and chrono boost them. Yeah, definitely. Maybe if you hide the control groups, you'll avoid the constant inquiries about them. Well, I think it's very useful for people to see what is going into each group. It's very important, guys. So it's actually very useful. It's just, yes, they correspond to different numbers. And obviously, people are mostly asking about these buttons over here anyway. But I think that's a very useful tool, is to see what I'm putting on control groups. All right, guys. Control F1. Control F2. Control F3. Control F4, we'll do it at the front actually, and Control F5. Queue up another probe. And what do we do, guys? This guy is going to be our Control 1, so that's on the army. And we're going to go around the base. What are we playing? We're playing against a random player. We'll take gas here, chrono boost our probes, keep building probes. We're going to go Control 5. Beautiful. Alright, rally to the gas. So just super standard stuff here, guys. Super standard stuff once again. And, yeah. It'd be less stressful. No, that's fine. Chat answers questions very well. So we've got a Terran player, guys. Got a Terran player. So we're going to rally to the natural. Change the rally point back. That goes Control 2. This guy is getting chased. Control 1, double tap 1, double tap 2, double tap 1, double tap 2. Get in the habit of bouncing between your units that way, guys. Shift 7, double tap, Control F2. So we're centering the camera location. Send him back, resume probes. Oh no, we're trapped. So guys, notice I was trapped in a corner. If you ever want to escape from that, you have to click on a mineral. It allows your worker to move through enemy units. And we do see multiple barracks. If we want, we can queue the probe around to try and see what's up, but it's probably going to die anyway. Now, because we were a bit distracted by that, guys, we did start that gas and pylon a little bit late, didn't we? It's not the end of the world. It is what it is. Now, because there's only one gas, who knows what this is, guys? Doesn't matter. Point is, his buildings are in his base. Do your completely normal thing. And you know what? The safest thing you can do is just make sure your robo starts on time. If you get your gas going on time, you get your robo the moment you get 100 gas, it means you get an observer sooner, it means you get earlier warning of what's going on, right? So that's the best thing we could do. Notice we're changing the rally points, guys, because 1633. Now, I don't have a probe down there. Hurry up. Build that robo. Keep building probes, chronoing, build another stalker. And the robo there. Now, this is a Terran. He could be building Reapers. So, he could jump up the ledge, right, guys? Ooh, do we build a spotter over there? No. What we could do is we could build our extra pylon over there if we want, just to get vision later. But instead, I'm just going to put my stalker in between my bases so I can respond either one, depending on what happens. We'll do one more chrono there on the natural. Let's get 2 more gateways. I notice we like to leave an opening there so units can move between. We're going to shift 5 those. We're going to control 4 the robo as well. Build 1 more stalker. Awesome. Now, I don't know if my opponent's expanded or not, guys. So I'm going to assume he hasn't expanded. He's on 1 base. Remember, if they're on 1 base at 3 minutes 30, what do? You build a shield battery. I'll also build an extra pylon out here, powering both the shield battery and the robo. Just to be safe. The other thing you do is you obviously focus on your unit production a little bit more. We can build another pylon there, just have a bit of production space. And the observer, we're going to control group that on number 2, send it to the front, and see what we're up against. Alright guys, we're going to build an immortal next. We've already got 3 stalkers. And then we're going to warp in 3 more to complete our nice little defensive force early on. Oh, I talked about Reapers coming in. So what do we do, guys? We're boxing. Why do we keep boxing and clicking? To pull the extra workers off gas. And we just did something super advanced. I'll talk you guys through in a moment. Okay, guys? Let's just finish off this probe first. This Reaper first. All right. So what did I just do, guys? Box, right-click, box, right-click. To make sure the guys that were inside the gas you select on the second box. Now, when you want to go back to mining, this is a really, really useful thing you guys should do. Box them, right click. You want to go shift, left click, left click, left click. Doesn't matter which probe you click on. Release shift, right click, hold down shift, left click, left click, left click. Release shift, right click on the minerals. See, what you've done there is you've said, everyone go on gas. You 3 guys that I'm taking off my selection are going to keep that order because they're removed from my selection. Everyone else go on the other gas. You 3 guys are going to keep that order because I've taken you out of my selection. Everyone else go on the minerals. Nice little habit you guys can build. So much more efficient than doing it any other way. And you can do that for all sorts of things. So say I want to send some stalkers out of the map, I can do the same thing. Right now, what am I doing, guys? Right click there, deselect a stalker. Right click there, deselect a stalker. Right click there, deselect a stalker. Bring the immortal back, remake my army. Make 3 more stalkers, add that to my army group. And these stalkers have just been sent out to be nice spotters on the map. If that doesn't make sense, guys, exclamation mark fundamentals in my Twitch chat. You can always look at my fundamentals of StarCraft video, of course. I'm not sure if I linked that in this Protoss GM document. If I didn't, you guys can remind me at the end of this game and we can try to fix that one up. Obviously, we were taking a lot of time explaining that, guys, so we're going to be way slower on our timing this game, aren't we? So let's get these gateways going. Alright, so let's go. Nice little wedges of gateways. Remember, leave the openings if we can. 4 plus 3 is 7. Did I lose my observer, by the way? I did, didn't I? And look, guys, see these stalkers? They're not on my army group. By the way, we have a rule in Bronze 2GM, no select all army key. I haven't mentioned that. Yeah, in Bronze 1 or here in Silver, guys. We're not allowed to use the army key until we're at least Platinum, probably Diamond League. Not at all. And you guys shouldn't either. It's a terrible habit. It can really help you out in some situations, but unless you have a lot of discipline, you're probably going to use it to your own detriment. It's going to become a really bad habit, and you'll struggle to break it. So, control, shift, control click the gateways, shift 5, so they're all in there. Chronoing Twilight Council. Do we have an immortal? We do. We'll queue up a prism behind that. Get another guy there. He's building a... He's got a sensor tower up here. And check it out. Our spotting stalker saw him coming, so we can run that away. Guys, time to be fancy. Stutter step is really good. Stalkers are faster than Marines and outrange them. So what you can do is you can actually hit and run. Very fancy, not something that's high priority. but something that, because Stalkers are always your early game, especially in PvP, you're going to start learning and having to use sooner rather than later. Let's control click those zealots, shift 1 them. Remember, we aren't clicking to warp in, we're using rapid fire. If you have to click to warp in, you're doing it wrong. Ah, he's going to die. Not a big deal. Anyway, guys, because our army's not that big, I'm being a little cautious. Now, I don't want to attack through the sensor tower. I want to surprise him from this angle. So we're going to go to here, tell the warp prism to go there. One more round of zealots. Grab him, shift 1, and... Oi!
Thanks for the Bezos bugs.
Will I move my army back to kill those guys then? Bad! I want to build more pylons, because we were warping in. So we just did a very advanced trick, guys. I was thinking, okay, I just warped in zealots, it's time to build pylons. And then I got distracted by something, and I shuffled build pylons lower in the priority. Instead, I went, okay, I'll deal with this. And then I did that. By the way, that's 2 Widow Mines sitting there. This is hilarious. Okay. Don't know what 2 Widow Mines are doing over there. So if I want to be super, super fancy, here's a trick. Don't try that at home, kids. Notice that we just... hopefully my opponent wasn't watching. Otherwise, he's going to realize he's being smurfed. But morph the Archons there. So that's a very cute trick you guys could do. I wouldn't advise it unless you've got a real hard-on for doing show-off moves. And we're going to A-move in, guys, and we're going to try and bust him. Now, this is a really nasty angle. Let's try and shift-click down these depots. And now, once the walls are open, that's when we can kind of move in there and warp in more zealots. Control-click, shift 1. Now, as always, guys, sensor towers, turrets, walls off, tanks, but no actual numbers or upgrades for the existing units. This is very typical until you get to higher levels. Players spend a lot of time looking at, like, you know, oh, let's get some static defenses and that sort of stuff, but players aren't really spending the time to, let's take a 3rd and a 4th at the same time. So guys, that's another way you could do it. If you've got a lot of money floating behind your attack, you can go 3rd and 4th at the same time. You can throw up really fast. But yeah, basically people just don't focus enough on kind of units, right? I'm building Stargates because I think this guy's going to hide his buildings, guys. If we can set that on fire, it should be fine. Yeah, that should burn. Did you get cover all of your keyboard settings? So basically, in the Bronze 2GM Protoss, I talked about how you should go watch the start of the Bronze 2GM Terran and linked it because I didn't want to spend too much time. And once again, guys, people taking hidden bases. This one, not as hidden, makes a bit more sense, right? Because it is a gold base. But it's kind of interesting to see that so many players are keen on this this gold stuff. I'd already talked about it so well in Terran Bronze 2GM, and I said, look, rather than just saying the exact same thing round 2, my mechanics are almost the same. So I said, look, first thing you should do for the mechanics, go watch the Bronze 2GM Terran, and then I just showed how to set up rapid fire for the Protoss Bronze 2GM so that it's all kind of there. Yeah. GG, guys. So we could see the Reapers did end up surprising me. So there's actually a cool thing that you could do. Instead of walling off the natural, and that's mostly for Zerg, is where that's best. Against Terran, you'll see sometimes players actually do this one, right? Now, I don't actually know where the spot is. You kind of need to learn where it is on each map. But essentially, you could just go Gateway, Cybercore, and just wall off like that, right? And that way Reapers can't jump into your base. So this is a cool little thing you guys can learn on maps that have a jump-in ledge. And then suddenly, they can't move through there. So they can hop up, but they can't actually get through. They might be able to be really fancy and bounce themselves over using a grenade, but that's a really cool thing if you struggle with Reapers. I don't think the Reapers were that big an issue. Yeah. I mean, they killed a few probes, but it was 3 Reapers. It wasn't free. My Stalkers were close by because they were in the middle of my 2 bases. So I think that worked out just fine. Cool. GG's. Guys, please ask questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Mines are visible when aiming. You can't target them, but you can see it. Yeah. Is there no macro cycle for Protoss? Not really, guys. So that's a really good question. Isn't there a macro cycle for Protoss? So you know what, guys? Let's talk about a macro cycle, actually. So there isn't as much of a macro cycle because it does change quite a bit based on if you're chrono boosting or not. And if you're chrono boosting, actually if you're chrono boosting, you just build an extra probe. That's basically it, because it just gives you a free probe. So essentially, guys, once we get up to like a 2-base setup, we will sink into a little bit of a macro cycle, which is going to be every 25 seconds we queue up 2 probes. Okay, so that's something we're gonna kind of talk about a little bit later in this game. For now, I'm just kind of setting up my camera locations. We'll build the gateway, add that to the hotkey. We'll send the probe over here, go for the scout, hide behind the natural, same as always. Chrono boost, take gas. All right, completely standard. So I kind of sped through that. I've talked to you guys through it 50,000 times at this point. If everyone's like, you didn't do it slow enough, go watch one of the previous 10 games. I did it pretty slow enough. I'm so salty a teacher, man. I'm the worst. Yeah, basically, that's just gonna be really nice. Now, in terms of building pylons, though, it's very intermittent because you're not building units non-stop as Protoss. So it's something where you kind of, like, pros kind of memorize their pylon timings. When you're starting out, it might just be like, every time you queue up a bunch more probes, add another pylon. It's probably a good habit, right? All right, we center that camera location by adding that to the control group. Cyber core, and there we go. Awesome. So we should be hiding behind the base, shouldn't we? Okay, awesome. So we go back to probe production. We build the second gas. We rally to that second gas, and we want to build that second pylon as well. Which, remember, we want to build out lots of production space. And there we go. Beautiful. Yeah, you basically just want to, you don't have a Gary or Bruce building the depots like you do with Terran. As Zerg, you don't have like injecting as regularly. Like Chrono Boost is something which is a little bit more specific to like whatever's going on in the game, right? So at this point, so after your first pylon, you chrono that. Then you chrono these two, then we chrono this once or twice. And then we just kind of chrono upgrades and tech units from then on. Unless there's a specific thing like, oh, I'm trying to now suddenly probe up a third. Let's chrono all my Nexi one time. Something like that. Why did you pick up minerals with the scout? Just because he had nothing to do while he was waiting, so we might as well. There's no special reason. We'll build a robo to finish the wall. Build those probes. Beautiful. Okay, we'll add that robo to group 4. Queue up a few more probes. Remember, we want to make sure there's 3 probes queued up on that. So we'll start sinking into that macro cycle in the near future, okay? I think we're at the point where we can do that. So, 34 supply, 33 supply. We're going to get 2 gateways and then a pylon. So we can control click the gateways, add them to 5 while we're waiting for minerals. Then we have 100 minerals, so we put the pylon down, go there. And then, guys, time for a macro cycle. But we don't have the money. So I'm going to wait until I have the money for all 4 probes. There we go. Beautiful. And then that's it. That's literally the macro cycle. Q2 probes. We'll come back and queue up 2 more in a little bit, okay? Now, when you're first starting out, that's definitely something that can help you, but because it's the least important for Protoss, which is why I haven't emphasized it as much as I have for the other races. And guys, 3 minutes 30, we come in, we see the opponent has a base, and now we bring those minerals home, baby. We bring those minerals home. So guys, we're going to chrono boost, so we're going to build a 3rd probe on this nexus, okay? So we're going to build 3 probes on each nexus, just to be totally solid. We'll chrono boost the observer, rally that across the map. And what do we do after those probes? We should also build a pylon there. So if you pair those together, that's probably going to make it a lot easier for you. Build those probes, add a pylon. Build those probes, add a pylon every 30 seconds, okay? Especially, we're building stalkers. And what do we do later on? Every time we warp in units, build a pylon. Or later on, we'll be building 4 or 5 pylons, right? So that's definitely something for you guys to remember is you can pair up your pylons. Oh, and we just queued up 4 probes. Build a pylon. See, it's kind of a little bit weird because if you're building units and that you can kind of pair it up. You know, it's funny because I'm so flexible based on what I'm doing at this point. And depending on how fast or advanced you are, you might want to keep this as a really just automated system, or you might want to be a bit more flexible. So I'm going to leave a little bit of creativity with you guys in terms of how you want your macro cycle to be. But for now, yeah, I'm going to try and stop tapping my hotkeys and slow it down a little bit, because that's actually a really good point I should have focused on more. Twilight Council and 7 more gateways go down, guys. Remember, that's only 6. We need that 7th gateway. So it's not the same unless we have that beautiful rounded 10 gateways, right? So much nicer. Control click, add to 5. You know what we do, guys. Templar Archives normally, but we don't actually have the thingo for it yet. Let's put the guys on gas. And we can use that same deselecting trick there, guys. Did you see? That was... I'll show you guys one more time. So, if we grab workers, we can try to grab 6 if you can. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I was using that shift click, okay? Always use that mechanic. Real nice, real nice. Alright, let's get charge. Let's get the Templar Archives. And we can get a few more pylons up here as well. Beautiful. Alright, guys. I haven't really looked at my observer. Let's go take a look. So, opponent has not made an orbital command. That's how you know you're playing high level. Bunch of barracks factory into starport. Not bad production for my opponent. I gotta say, this is definitely, the players are getting better, but he is building turrets in his main already for no reason, which is obviously something you guys know I absolutely hate. No reason static defense. I think it's a really bad crutch that just hurts your advancement because you're always putting money in something that it's only going to be useful if something flying or invisible flies into that, you know? It takes you away from the, we'll set up the pervert there. It takes you away from the real, I have a real clear purpose behind everything I'm doing. So guys, we're at 45 probes, no need to build anything else. We could send a probe over to our third base, just be ready. And I guess we warp in more zealots. Control click, add them to the army. And you know what guys, let's get a sentry this time. So we're gonna try and use Guardian Shield this time. And our opponent's going for a Doom drop. So if we wanted to kill that, we might be like, ooh, he's doing drops. You know what, guys? I'm going to queue up Blink just to give me some more mobility to help deal with that, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to take our army and we're going to try to intercept that over here. And I'm going to build another observer as well just to see if I can find them. We'll go out to this watchtower and then we'll A-move back here. So I've queued up an A-move. I don't know if I'll see the drops or not. Oh, yes, I will. So we can go down there. Let's put this on group number 2. Bring it over. And notice I'm not attacking it, guys, because we want to only give an attack warning once we've actually started killing them. And notice he gets away there. So we're now going to go across the map. Because he's running away, he's going to have to run home. So I'm going to go to my attack again. That's, once again, warp in the zealots, control click, shift 1. This observer, I'm going to go over here and siege it up. So it should give me early warning if an attack comes from that side. Super high level shit. Oh my god. What you do there? That don't make sense, pig. What you do? What are we gonna do, guys? Let's take the third. Build a pylon. Always build a pylon so you have a warp-in pylon there. And then what? Double forge as well. So we're getting that transition ready. Now we don't want to actually queue up probes to those bases. Put those on their control group. And now we want to warp in those high Templar. We're a little supply blocked, but we're a little mineral poor as well here. And we can morph Archons, then we can go for a big old attack. Control click, add to the army. He sees us. Just wait. And let's go. We A-move up the ramp. And those tanks are, of course, very annoying. But it's okay. Our stalkers are trying to hit them. If you want to be a super Chad, you can actually go warp in on the high ground, guys. Notice the Immortal can reach that tank. Immortals do massive bonus damage to armored. So Immortals are so much better if they're hitting like tanks or marauders or anything like that. And yeah, he's got too many random turrets around his base that don't really serve any function. So yet again, another player who unfortunately, they had some much better macro. And they did actually go for a drop timing, which was cool. But I think if they just did a big frontal attack on the front, they'd probably have a bit more success rather than being so fancy with the drop. As it was though, GG, very well played by my opponent. And cool to see a few of those different things. So we'll try and, let's work that macro cycle in a little bit more. Let's write some notes on that, shall we? Oh, we got the Raining Blood achievement for killing a full drop, I think. Very nice. Guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please do click the sub button. Let's do some shout outs really quickly. I'm sorry, my thing's broken so I couldn't see them. It's Gray with the 4 months, Slow Gameplay with the 2-month resub. Thank you everybody for the love, going above and beyond. And let's take a little look-see here, guys, at exactly what we can write down here, okay? So we did a whole thing about what is a safe lead. What about the macro cycle? Okay. So once our natural is up and going from about 3 minutes, we can institute a bit of a macro cycle. Now, this isn't as central or as consistent as it is for Zerg or Terran, but it's still a useful concept for building some rhythm around your basic tasks, right? So what is it? Okay, so basically every 25 seconds, build 2 probes per nexus. If chronode, 3 probes. Okay. Plus add a pylon. Let's just say add 1 to 2 pylons. Okay. And then unit production macro cycle. Every 25 seconds. I don't actually know what the warp gate cooldown is. Let's figure it out. Warp gate, Wikipedia. Let's see. Actually, you know what? We should just look up Zealot. I think the stat would be on the Zealot. So it says it takes 27 seconds, but how long on a warp gate? Here we go. 20 seconds for Zealots. Warp gate cooldown, 23 seconds for Sentry or Stalker, 20 for Adept, 32 for High Templar or Dark Templar. Let's just say every 25 seconds then. Yeah, that's fine. So every 20 to 25 seconds, build a round of units. Let's say add 3 pylons? 3 times 8, that'd be like, yeah, that'd be plenty. Build a round of units, add about 3 pylons, and that should work out. So that's essentially, there's the macro cycle for, so this is like probe / economy macro cycle, which is what, 3 to 6 minutes in this build. And then we've got unit / army macro cycle, which is what, like 6 to 9 minutes in this build. And the funny thing is you kind of swap back into the first one if you do go back into economy after the push, right? Okay, so macro cycle as a focus for next few games. Also Sentry plus Guardian Shield plus micro it forward so it shields Zealots. Okay, all right, I'll try to do that. We also have a whole list of the best tools, right, guys? So we could also try to mix in an Adept harass in the near future as well. With this build, we could open up a couple of Adepts instead of Stalkers and just see if we can, you know, micro some Adepts to like maybe just scout, maybe not harass, maybe just start doing a single Adept scout just to kind of show what that might look like and how that's something you can always use to, you know, press your multitasking and develop your mechanical skill. Yeah. Anyways, let's go, guys. Let's talk about the game. So, camera location 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And let's build that gateway. Go across the map. So what we're going to do, guys, as always, we go up there, go around, and then hide behind the base. We go back with chrono boost. We can build a gas. Keep queuing up those probes. And let's just check all of our camera locations are good. Indeed they are. Beautiful. Oh, look at that. Did you see what I did, guys? I doubled them up just then to make sure, because the workers are a bit awkward. You notice here we've got 3 patches on one. So this is a cool little optimization you guys can do. I doubled them up there just to make that a little bit more efficient. Now, we'll stop building probes here on 20. The control grid. And notice we saw hatch, gas, pool. Completely standard opening. This tells us that my opponent is actually playing like pretty optimal standard opening, and I've seen a lot of really dodgy plays so far. So to see this is super different. Now, I'm going to add that to the control group, double tap it, center the camera location, keep building probes. We can get the second gas now, get the second pylon in a moment as well. Let's put that up. The air should be good. Plenty of production space on that. Keep queuing those up. And we're looking pretty good, guys. So because I got my probe home so early, notice I've clicked the gas and then pressed return cargo. And notice he's going to return the minerals and then continue doing the other task. So if I, for instance, let's show, does this work? If I go build pylon and then I say return cargo, no, that doesn't work. But I could go build pylon, shift return cargo, and then he'll automatically return it. You see? So just making sure you guys understand how that mechanic works. For now, let's keep building probes here, and Gonna build a Stalker now. We can rally that straight to that Overlord. So you can see how the rally point actually follows it. And what do we do next, guys? A robo in the wall, as always. Build another Stalker as well. You can add this, control group it on one. Now, a lot of people prefer Adepts earlier against Zerg because they're a bit better at killing Zerglings, but we're not going to bother changing anything this early on. Don't think we really need to, 100%. And guys, from now on, we're going to go gateways, and from then on, macro cycles, okay? So we're going to try and keep that real consistent. All right, 2 gateways. We grab those, add them to group number 5. Build another pylon. Shift click that. Shift 1. And because it's a Zerg, guys, let's hold position in the wall, okay? Macro cycle time, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we want to do another chrono boost, we can even make it 5, 6, okay? So we've got the robo up. What we're going to do is we'll make an observer, send that across. Let's make another Stalker here as well, set the rally point there. And awesome, guys. So we built some probes there. Sorry, I just queued up one extra probe. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's build 2 pylons. So the previous one we didn't build pylons on. So you can see that if you know your build order well enough, or you glance at your supply and it's not too close, you don't need to bother. But if on the other hand, you feel like, oh no, like I'm not sure, or it's getting too close for comfort at all. So when you're doing the macro cycle, you're putting those probes, always glance up there, is what I'm saying. Chrono boost the Immortals. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to check, is there a third base? And then even if there isn't, we're going to go and try to set up pervert mode in between. So we're saying, check if there's a base, and then go shut up and see what's going on. So we're going to warp in 3 more Stalkers. And this is, of course, our standard defensive squad, guys. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 probes, build a pylon, and do the next part of the build. What's the next part of the build, guys? Twilight Council. We need gases, right? Because that's all saturated. That should be all the probes we need, right? We're already at 45. Awesome. So we can put 3 on there. We can put 3 on there. What do they do, guys? Remember, shift. So I only got 2 on the first one, so I need one more. Shift left click to get a third one, and then we click them. That's how we do it. All right, we're feeling pretty good right now. Obviously, we need extra gateways. What do we see here, guys? Let's go for a little scout around the base, shall we? Do we see Spore Crawler? No. Lots of queens and a roach warren, and they're taking a third hatch. There's not that many drones, so notice you can look at the drone count of a Zerg, but because he's got gases, you can see that base is not heavily saturated, so our opponent's economy is jank as shit. And he's building Zerglings and Roaches and Hydras, because Roach Warren and Hydralisk. Okay. Anyway, let's make charge and continue with our build. Remember, guys, 7 gateways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's make another Immortal. Chrono boost that. Remember, we are at the probe count, so we don't need to build pylons and probes together anymore. We don't need pylons at all, because we're not producing any army or any probes. And this allows your gateways to get down at a really good time. We can add those to our group, control click. Add a few more pylons. Add Templar Archives.
Cold is the void.
Beautiful.
I return to serve.
Alright, so what are we doing now? We're going to make a prism. We're going to make some more zealots. Because I just made zealots and I've made all those gateways. Obviously, you can make more pylons, but we already did all of these backup pylons. We didn't get one at the front yet. Now, what if I was a bit more unsure? Because it's a Zerg player and they can rush you pretty good. And if you in general feel confident, less confident, you might want to get a shield battery at the early stage, guys, somewhere before the 4-minute mark on your natural. So I'm not gonna shit on you guys for that. If you build 3 cannons in each base, I will get really angry. I'll go, well, you're never going to improve with that sort of cowardice. But building a shield battery at the front, very small expense, and really helps you out. All right, guys, so we're going to move across now, guys. We're going to do our attack. Now, what have we forgotten? We're playing a Protoss play. So grab a Stalker, shift hold position, and we're going to dump that. So it's off our army group, okay? Always leave someone in your door versus Zerg player. We're also going to leave a probe ready at the 3rd in case we do transition, okay? No, I don't actually have a sentry. That's a good point. From chat. So that guy needs about 20 seconds to gather energy.
You require more Vespine gas.
Alright guys, we got 4 Archons. Make one more Archon here while we wait for that 75 energy. That's going to be really effective against the heavy queens our opponent has, guys. Chat's saying obs? We don't need an observer. I mean, yeah, we could replace it. Why not? But it's not important. Alright, guys, build some pylons and let's go. Now we're just going to move up towards the natural. Get up right in between the bases. And one more big zealot warp in. Control click, shift 1. Where is my opponent's army at? Let's try and move right on in there. Is he attacking? He's attacking me! Cheeky bugger. He was trying to walk queens across the map, my opponent. Now, I didn't use Guardian Shield because I'm waiting for there to be an army before I use it, guys, but there's no army. Here we go. So now I can move the sentry forward. See, I'm moving that sentry in range of the front line, and now I'm trying to move it up behind the zealots. So we can try to do that. But, yeah, just too much stuff. Opponent was trying to do a cute little attack, but we can just now split up and just kill everything by the looks of it. Just send those zealots in everywhere. Once again, moving them in a line, we should be able to take that out. What's too close? 10 supply or 5? So that's a really good question. This is regarding the supply gap. What is too close? So 40 out of 46 equals get pylons ASAP, right? 40 out of 70 equals we can skip pylons for now, right? But this scale adjusts, okay? So 120 out of 140 equals still build more pylons. You're on 10 gates. You can warp in 20 supply instantly. So you want a bigger supply gap as your economy and production ramps up, right? If that makes sense. So what you want to be thinking about there is, oh, okay, maybe 40 out of 50, but maybe it's 70 out of 100, and then maybe it's 100 out of 140 or something, you know, just, and bigger is better. So depending on your skill level, you're going to see pros go right up close to it, right? So advanced players will do stuff like, say, I have 45 probes, 6 stalkers, this is what I've been doing, and 1 immortal. I'm not producing any probes or army right now. I can be 62 out of 62, or, you know, 70 out of 70 or something like that. Supply, yeah, probably 62 out of 62, and still it's actually correct to build gates before pylons because you're not building units right then. So you can be super efficient, build 7 gates, drop Templar Archives, then get 7 pylons all at once, right? Something like that. It's really cool. Is it not important to keep your gates producing units like you should with Terran? Absolutely not. Australia is probably the only pro gamer who does that. We are building a set number of units for safety, and then we're kind of powering. We're cutting unit production, being a bit greedy, quote unquote. Why? We've got an observer out there, so we only want to build units if we see big signs of aggression coming our way. We see big signs of aggression, we can change it up. We go, okay, I will keep producing units. And that's going to delay the gateways and the Templar Archives and stuff. But that's why, and I said this from the very start of the series, we always want to be getting better at scouting, getting better at our awareness, and learning how to read things. And there's some... It's just, if you non-stop build units, you can end up just sitting on a really shitty composition and just making kind of bad gateway units with no real purpose for a long time. Whereas you can see for me, I'm making a handful of early game units. And then what do I do after that, guys? It's a handful of early game units. And then I'm just kind of going, don't build anything else. We've got scouting out there. If I need to build more, we can. And let's just kind of go into charge, get the mass gateway, and then it's charge, Archons, and you kind of explode into your very effective units. And my army goes from a handful of Stalkers and Immortals to this very powerful army very quickly. And what's really cool is this already is forcing you as a player to engage in the strategic side of things. What do I mean by that? So what I mean by that, ooh, that probe was a little slow to drop, is basically those probes are going to queue up in a bit of a different way. Pig, can you teach me more about sentries? You know what, guys? Do you guys want to see a sentry game to change it up? We're still going to do a 2-base attack. Do you guys want to see a sentry game? A completely different composition? Because I'm kind of bored of using these units. We're playing Terran. It's actually a perfect scenario for this style, though you could use it versus any race. Sentry, Stalker, Colossus. Let us know in chat if you guys would like to see that instead as a bit of a change up. Yep. Sure? Okay. We'll do this. I'm going to show more of this as like a proper style and flesh it out a bit more later. But just as a little bit of a teaser, why not? Let's get the Nexus, Cybercore, same as always, guys. Back to probes after that. Center the camera location. We can take the third base at the front. Where's the gas? Oops. Let's pile on here. Nice production space. Alright, so what did we see, guys? We saw a barracks and gas at home. Very standard looking opening. And no big signs of aggression just yet. And we see, look, nice quick command center. So our probe can try to come home as well. Alright, so with this style, the main change up, and I kind of wrote about this style and how I was like, hey, look, what if you just really don't like Zealot Archon with my opening style? And I was like, look, essentially you can do the same build. We just need to get the gases up on the natural faster and get some sentries after the first couple of Stalkers. Gathering energy is really going to help us out. Now, we're still going to play it pretty safe, get a few Stalkers first, but that could be different. Now, still get the wall off just because why not? Get another Stalker there. Oh, our probe got home, I think, didn't it? And notice, guys, return cargo. Return cargo. Alright, so we're chrono boosting, building a whole bunch of probes here, and 33 supply. Now, if you want to be super pro, guys, I don't quite have 300 minerals. Look at this. This guy is going to time out with 300 minerals. And that way I'm not interrupting my mining. So just go do. Wait. Need another pylon. And then go back to mining. So sometimes if you can grab workers popping out to build things, it's just this nice thing. And we're going to build 4 probes, 5 probes, 6 probes. And we will queue up one more pylon there as well. Remember, that's a macro cycle. 6 probes, that's our first macro cycle. And we can go get that one. Add these guys to our gateway hotkey. Get our observer. We don't have a chrono boost energy right now. Oops. We've only built 2 Stalkers this time. That's okay. We'll just wait for Warp Gate to finish because it's so close. It's a bit too late to start the unit. And, oh, a little late on this, guys. 14 probes. Can we see a Phoenix opening? Nah. If you're playing Phoenix in Bronze, Silver, Gold, you're making things way too hard for yourself for no reason. Phoenix is a really fancy unit, man. Now we're sticking with robo openings because it's just the best to get all the information so that you can kind of learn what you're up against. Phoenix are a really bad fighting unit. So I would advise, I took these gases when I was at 14 out of 16. I would advise, guys, take those when you're at about 10 out of 16, just so you can get that gas up really hard, okay? Because you need to go robo bay here. And, oh shit, actually these last Stalkers should have been sentries. Ah, it's okay. It's okay. And we're just going to build 1 Immortal. Only 1 Immortal this game, okay, guys? So what are we going to do? Observer's just going to go in, take a little look-see around. We see multiple factories, which tells us it should be mech. But he's also gone an engineering bay and a lot of marines. So my opponent's just doing a bit of a confused build order, I guess. I'm going to build some sentries, and uh-oh, we're not quite saturated. Taking the gases made me think I was saturated, but I'm not. So building a few more pylons, and that's really important because Colossus are 6 supply each. Also, your gateway explosion is not as important. You're taking gases faster, you're building sentries earlier. Gas is more important than minerals with this build. I've got a bit of extra mineral bank because I messed the order up. But you want to go chrono boost 2 Colossus, then a warp prism. We don't need to start the Viagra upgrade, the thing that extends their thermal lance just yet. Because what's more important is we need to get up 6 sentries. 6 sentries as early as possible, gathering as much energy as possible. And Ain't no shame in using a bit of the Viags, guys. Gotta do what you gotta do. One more sentry. So now we've got 6 sentries. From here, we can just warp in store, because we can add a few zealots if you want some really basic tanking units as well. But most important is we want to get the second Colossus started. So we're waiting. 200 gas, 200 gas. There we go. Second Colossus is started. Next bit of gas is going to go towards the range upgrade for that Colossus. And we still can go up to 8 gateways, not 10. Why just one immortal? Because we need the gas for the Colossus, and we need to be building the Colossus, guys. The Stalker Sentry Colossus style, we don't need immortals. No purpose. So there we go. We add those to our production. Get Viagra. Chrono boost it. Chrono boost the Colossus. And we're going to chrono boost the Warp Prism, and then we're going to go with that army. So, behind this, what are we doing? Just Stalkers. No Twilight. Why do we not have Stalkers, guys? Real simple. What's it for? Blink? You ain't going to make shit out of Blink. That ain't useful. We're noobs. We're in Silver League. Don't try to do fancy Blink micro. Making things way too hard. Now, this is the worst case scenario, an opponent building lots of tanks and going mech, because this army is naturally best against Marines and Bio. So it's best against lots of small units, rather than long-range siege tanks that do massive bonus to armor. Where are the carriers? We have a new person hopping in chat. Okay, so for those of you who are just tuning in, some of you might not realize this is a cuck-free zone in our chat today. So a lot of people have said, cool, you're teaching Protoss Bronze to GM, so how many Void Rays, how many cannons, and how many shield batteries, and how quickly do we go to carriers? And what I've said to chat is I've said, we're actually teaching Protoss players how to play the game, not how to just kind of drag their balls back and forth across the keyboard. So as much as we might showcase a couple builds that utilize some of those units in specific circumstances, we're not going to be taking the very, in my opinion, boring route of just playing cannons and batteries and mass air units, because that is about as boring as it can come. All right, guys, so like I said, worst case scenario, because normally what you're looking for is units to scoop up. There's no units for us to scoop up in this case. So we're going to make Zealots just because they are light units. So they're going to take a lot of damage in the front row. And we're going to just try and move forward and focus fire the tanks wherever possible. Okay, so we're going to bring the Observer forward there, siege it up. And we're just going to try and move in and see if we can kill these units. Unfortunately, because our opponent played mech, this composition just doesn't make much sense here. You don't get to see all the cool stuff that you'd normally do. And you can see we've got a pretty good push timing here. Just lots of units. And generally, until you get to a pretty damn high level in RTS games, you're not going to encounter any hardship if you attack your opponent with an attack that vaguely makes sense until you get to a pretty high level. I know a lot of players who are about diamond level in a lot of different RTS games who basically just do some sort of attack and just annihilate people. And it's always very inefficient. They're always floating thousands of resources, but because they're attacking their opponent, it's actually, it's just, hey, I'm decisively attacking, and the other players are usually just a bit too much doing 50 different things that don't really line up. So anyway, what would I have done if there was Bio? Say there's a Bio army over here, guys. You A-move it, you Guardian Shield, and then when you start fighting, you pull back, and you Force Field, and then you A-move again. And that way, the reason we use Stalker Sentry is these units are nice long-range units, and you're going to outrange them from the Force Fields. Colossus 9 range, Stalkers 6 range. And on a basic level, you can just A-move and just, oh, they're fighting me, and you just split them. Now, how do I do that? I do this just by going J, click, J, click, J, click. Now, even without using rapid fire, because I don't think I have that on rapid fire, if you hold a spell down, after about a fraction of a second, it'll toggle. So you don't actually have to go hotkey, left click for everyone. What I can do instead, guys, is I can actually just go A-move, hold the hotkey down, click, click, click. And I only held the hotkey down once there. And this is kind of smart cast, I guess we call this. I don't know what you want to call this. But essentially, a lot of people don't know this is in the game. And yeah, it's kind of a bummer that they don't. A lot of pros don't even know you can do this. So any spell this works with, just hold it down. Now, if you try to click it straight away, it doesn't work. So I just tried to click it straight away and it kind of bugged out there. You need to let it toggle. So it takes just a fraction of a second. When you practice it a bunch of times, you'll get used to it. I still prefer to just go button click, button click, button click, and the aim is to not have them overlapping at all, so you can cut them off, and ideally, if they're running at you with bio, you trap some units in front of the force field, so you're still easily fighting them and they can't retreat, but everything else can't really fight, and they're trapped behind the force fields. So that's going to be one of the big things that you want to be focusing on in this this sort of fight. So, force field, force field, force field. You also want to look for other key areas. So what's another thing that you can do? You force field the ramp, kill all the SCVs and everything down here. They're all down here hiding, kill all those. They try to come down the ramp, wait for half the army to come down, and then force field it, fight their army half at a time. So, fun different change up in the style. Most effective versus bio, Lingbane, roaches, all these short-ranged units are really good. Yeah. All right, guys. So the next game, I'm also going to try and Adept Scout. So we're going to have Probe Scout and an Adept Scout. Now, that means we're going to jump ahead a little bit in terms of the speed. This is not really something you should be trying to manage everything at once in Silver League. But just to keep it interesting and to showcase one of the units and one of the best, most flexible early game scouts you have. Also, it's a PvZ, so very effective here if I want to harass with it. Do you have any how to analyze replay videos to get better at the game yourself? Yeah. How to analyze replays, Pig Daily, I think is out there somewhere. Can anyone find that video? Google Pig Daily, StarCraft, how to analyze replays? I think it's how to improve at StarCraft, analyzing replays, maybe something like that. Pretty sure I had a video on this way back when. All right, guys. All right, what do we got? So it's a PvZ, very standard build, natural base, 3rd base, 4th base, and 5th base. Queue up the extra probe, and we'll go across the map. We'll give that probe orders in a little while. Notice we've control grouped it, so whenever I get the time to, I can go back and do that. We're just rallying into the patch that doesn't have anyone on it, and continuing to build probes. Okay. Is one of my probes following another probe? It's weird. So we set the rally point there. No worries, rally up to 20. So what are we going to do, guys? As always, come in here and see. Is there a hatchery? No hatchery. So, similar to checking if their buildings are in their base, against Zerg, it's a little bit different in that you're checking if they've gone early pool. So if that spawning pool's already finished when you get in there, that usually means that they're doing a 12 pool. Now, if your opponent's doing a 12 pool, check it out, guys. What do you do first? You build a pylon, you build a zealot, and then we go second gate, cybercore, and we even chrono boost the zealot. Okay. Now, this probe can go back on the gas. That guy can go back there. What we're going to do is we're going to hide our probe now up on the map so that we can scout later on. And you want to build a second zealot, and then you want to make adepts after that. And this is our standard response, and this is actually the exact same thing you do if your opponent's buildings aren't in their base. The difference is I've put that zealot on hold position, guys, and we will chrono that again if we have to. Now, notice we've cut 16 on workers, 3 on gas. This is written up all in the document. I was waiting for someone to actually get aggressive so that we could do this. And now that we've got 2 zealots, we can fight the Zerglings, but you don't want to get surrounded. So notice, move there, hold position. Move there. Notice I click beyond the choke point and then press hold position if I want to just shuffle them, okay? And then we go Nexus. We can build an assimilator. We can put that guy on it. And we can even build another pylon here as well. Now it looks like he did find my other guy on the map, so well done. I said I wanted to do an Adept Scout. Perfect map for it, guys, after defending that, right? And we can build a Stalker just to deny any Overlords that come in our base. But otherwise, what are we doing? Same build as always. It's a later Nexus, but our opponent's build cost them a lot as well. So we'll build a Robo here. Hotkey it. Queue up probes. And our Adept can scout. Now, we're not going to actually harass with the Adept, even though that would probably be pretty effective right now. Because we see a lot of Zerglings there, don't we? Now we want to throw one more shade if possible. And notice we're just going to run home now. So the trick here with this shade is usually you want to try and see if they're mining gas. And our opponent is mining gas there. So interesting to know. And we're just going to shade home at this point. So you just shade and you click on the minimap really far in the direction you want it to go is the trick with shade, to make sure that it just goes really far ahead. Do you not recommend blocking their natural with a pylon? No need. You can do it if you want. It's not going to change your build too much. As long as you don't distract yourself from your build order, you will be good. Now, we never got the third gateway, so let's get the third gateway. Yeah, a lot of people see me doing something or not doing something. Oh, do you not recommend that? There's 1,000 things you can do in StarCraft, guys. There are so many options. Did we just see a little pervy overlord? We did, didn't we? So we're going to use the observer here. Check this out. Bring it over, and I'm going to queue it so it hangs around for a bit and then goes across the map. That way it should be there for long enough to kind of see what's going on, right? And yeah, we might as well go hunt him down. Why not? Anyways, let's start our pylons up, shall we? And I saw some Zerglings up there, so we gotta be careful. Let's get back to my ramp, shall we? Charge is on the way. And what are we gonna do, guys? We're gonna leave a zealot in the wall. So remember, once again, click past the choke point, hold position. Past the choke point, hold position. That's not in the wall, that's in the wall. Okay. Add that to our control group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Keep building probes. Little Zerglings running around. Oh my, look at that, guys. So, if we want to be super pro here, then we could warp in Sentry. Could have. I tried to not do that. We're just A-moving the probes. Even A-moving other probes. And we're going to chrono boost our gateways. Okay, guys. So he's pretty all in. Now what you can do here is you can cancel gateways to get money back. I know that's pretty advanced. And you can also walk to surround these guys. Notice we're running the probes away. And then what do? You wall off. You also want to make a sentry there. And we're going to make some shield batteries. Now, what's going to do damage over the walls is basically just about anything. Notice we're going to pull guys off gas. And it would have been nice if I cancelled a few more guys. And notice we've got the sentry, so when he blows up on those guys, let's actually try to just make as many of these adepts as I can.
Shall persevere. Glory to the Daylong.
Okay, we can make one more sentry there. And we'll try to wall off again, will we? I don't think we should, guys. So anyway, at this point, you've taken a lot of economic damage. Chrono probes, rally them back into the main. And you know what? We're going to go out and fight it. And the reason is, if we sit back here, things could get really nasty for us. So we're also going to make a Templar Archives because that allows us to make really efficient units. So we're just, because if he's morphing Banelings, we just want to catch them before they finish. Bit of a risk, but we go for it and we don't find it, so we pull back. All right. So let's try and recover our economy, and we're still going to go for the exact same attack we were planning earlier. It's just obviously going to be quite delayed. So how many gateways are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on 6 gateways. We'll definitely need more gateways to get this going. That's going to create a bit of a funky choke point, but that's okay. And put in that there. And just keep probing up. Put a few dudes on each gas at this point. And yeah. So, do I have any immortals? I don't. Let's build one immortal. You can see my observer is just going to take a look around. Now, when you're scouting a Zerg, what you want to look for is their drone count. There's a lot of drones, but he's sending them all back to... Some interesting drone management, let's put it that way. You guys are meant to be on that base, and these guys are meant to be on this base, not the other way around. Hello. We are still in Silver/Gold League. People make mistakes, it's fine. So our opponent's got 400 drones and is just trying to make like 1 billion Zerglings and Banelings. So what's really good against Zerglings is Zealots, but they're not good versus Banelings, which is why Archons are going to be really, really important, guys. So We're back up to 35 probes, which is almost 2 bases saturated. Maybe we'll just pull these last guys off those gases. Just so if you're ever in a really low economy situation, you can optimize by just putting 2 on each gas, which is really cool. And we're going to make some Archons, and we're just going to go do a big attack now. And we're going to actually have to show you guys some really advanced micro, which I know you guys are going to complain about, but hey, I probably would have lost this game. A shield battery would have kept me alive, and I think if the observer had actually checked what those Zerglings were doing that showed themselves, or if I sent an adept up there, we also would have been okay. But as it is, we're just kind of run in, and observer's going to siege up real deep. We're going to make 10 zealots here, except I'm supply blocked. Oh no. Oh no, I was doing too much talking, guys. Uh-oh. Oh no! So what are we gonna do? What's that? Hallucination of the Phoenix. And what's that do, guys? That scouts ahead. Okay, so look at that. There's lots of Banelings, Zerglings. If we can force field them, it could be good. So check it out. And then we can just attack that base. So notice I just force fielded that. And then we can do it again. Okay. We can make more zealots here. I've only got 1 force field left, so we're going to do it again, but... And here we go. So we're going to try and attack in. But notice we're trying to pull the zealots back on the left because there's Banelings, so that they kind of spread out. And a lot of drones over there as well, so we're going to try and run away.
Yes, Executor.
So at this point, how do you counter that army? The answer is Colossus, because it's all Lings and Hydras and stuff, right? The other thing you can do in this scenario is try and take a corner base while you distract your opponent, right? So what you do is you go just 4 zealots into the main, and we're going to take a corner base. We're probing up, so we're going to put all the guys on gas. And what we're going to do here is... Oh my god. He's already here, what? You're meant to be distracted. Look at this guy not F2ing. What the hell? This guy didn't F2. This is great. This is amazing. This guy's an absolute Chad. And what we want to do is get a second robo up as well. And we're going to put 1 zealot out, and then this guy can go in and try to make more guys to distract. He's making lurkers now, which is insane. So we're going to make disruptors because they counter lurkers. And we're going to make more sentries. This is a really fun little example to showcase trying to buy time. We'll make some more zealots as well. We try to just keep force fielding him out here. So we're going to hold position here while we try and make the disruptors. And yeah, this is actually awesome. And then we put this, the disruptor always goes on a separate key if you guys make splash damage units, by the way. So the zealots are just there to annoy them. Now if you guys ever want to recall, you gotta select the nexus there and recall these guys.
Consciousness. You have not enough minerals.
Now, because my opponent has lurkers, I need to build observers. So I've got a few disruptors. And now we're going to make observers. So we're going to send a hallucination out right now. This is how you check ahead of your army, guys. And we're just making observers and stuff. We're going to try and hope this never gets scouted. We don't care about defense, because the whole thing is just hope it doesn't get scouted. We'll run our prism away, and we're going to try and do some fun disruptor play. Now, disruptors are a really fancy unit. Now you guys can tell, I'm just bored and I'm jumping ahead. And this opponent's put me in a pressured situation, which is awesome. I'm way behind in this game, and this makes it so much more fun because there's actually pressure to do some cool shit. So I feel like I'm not just dumping on someone, but I can actually jump ahead and show you guys some cool shit. So one of the main things is observers. You don't want those on your army keys. Remember, disruptors 2, army 1. Now, if you're sick of moving 1 and 2 around, you find that hard, just take the number 2 and click them on one of your units from number 1, and they'll automatically follow that, okay? Now the observer should always just be click on one of those disruptors perhaps, and then you can manually, if you want, kind of go ahead a little bit with it, okay? So we're doing a bit of Zealot harass. Beerman's an absolute Chad gamer, by the way. Absolutely love this nerd. And we're going to try and take a normal third here now as well as putting those guys up there. So add to the control group third, fourth. Awesome. Now, because I don't have much to clear Zerglings, adding in some Archons, now that I have excess gas, is actually a very valid way of playing this. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and push this bottom path. We'll put some Zealot spotters out there. So what am I doing, guys? We're doing that deselecting of the Zealots. Remember, I did that with the Stalkers. Same map, actually. It was the Stalkers versus Terran earlier. Check this out. And we're going to scout ahead with a hallucination just to get an idea of what we're running into. And we're going to try and keep these disruptors back a little bit. Oh, look at this. Okay. So notice we're just running away. All you do is you throw the disruptor shots and then you run away, guys. Throw the disruptors, run away. Now, I don't like this angle, so because he's kind of flanking me, so we're going to go up there and attack from that side instead. That might set him up for a bit of a surround. We'll find out. I'm going to make a lot of Zealots here, try and help out. Notice we're just throwing balls everywhere. Just trying to see what we can do. We're going to pop Guardian Shields here. And we're going to try and run this Observer forward as well. We're going to completely ignore it home. We're basically going all in on this. Let's warp in more Zealots. And it looks like we're just going to have enough to bust through here. Opponent made a very advanced composition. I don't think he noticed my base though, and it looks like he's finally F2ing home. I think he's also got about 400 workers, which is cool, but probably a little bit too many. Big economic lead, for sure though. Now it takes 2 disruptors to kill a lurker, for those who don't know. Keep building Zealots, and these guys, we're just going to click those into the different bases. And we're just going to say, okay, you guys tear it up a little bit. So notice this is what we call creating problems. And this is another use for shift deselecting, guys. You do this with DTs a lot. You guys go there, shift deselect, right click, shift deselect, right click, shift deselect, right click. And what you're doing is you're saying, go create problems in multiple bases. Not the best if they've got a lot of ignore, they've got a lot of kind of things moving around and stuff, but yeah. My opponent is a beast. Beerman is a Chad gamer. That player there absolutely deserved the victory. That player played like an absolute tank. 12 pool opening into a Baneling bust off 26 drones, so it's not completely all in. They actually had like not the worst economy behind it. They blew me up, and I'm very proud of myself as well, guys, because 2 things. I saw the Zerglings up there with the Observer, and I was like, what's he doing over there with some sneaky Zerglings? And I didn't go check, number 1, so I contained my urge. Number 2, I contained the urge to get sentries and just force field him out, which if I did that, it would have been a much easier defense. I was like, don't react with lightning speed, don't make a sentry, don't force field it, just let him in. I probably could have just moved the Immortal forward to the wall, and even that alone would have held this off. So the trick is, guys, if you do realize what's going on, and when did my Observer get there, actually? So my Observer was pretty slow this game because of the 12 pool as well, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously the opponent doesn't really look silver. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not silver or gold. So they are just a dumb Smurf, probably. Maybe? Never mind. I don't know. They're probably a Smurf. Maybe? Maybe it's a new account. Maybe they haven't played in a long time. Who knows? If they actually belong at this rank, then they're probably a bit of a tried. I also saw Zerglings flooding out. I don't think I noticed that, guys. So I was talking you guys through getting gateways or something. If you see Lings flooding out with your Observer, that's a big tell. Also, if I actually flew my observer in, I would have seen more lings popping out, not that many drones, and a baneling nest, and these all would have been big tells of what was happening. So if we knew this was happening, how would we have responded, first of all? Okay. Holy crap. Okay. Alright. Game versus Bane Bust on Blackburn. So this is interesting. If we knew it was lots of lings coming and not that many drones plus Bane Nest, how do we react, right? That's probably the most important thing. Is it's easy to look at a game and go, oh, I should have known he was Bane busting and like done some stuff about it. What's better there, and what's always more powerful in StarCraft, is programming a response, a set play that you can pull out at any moment in your play. It's game changing. It changes everything. It's so huge, right? So what do we do then? Well, what would I do? First things first, I would potentially build a gateway there. If we want to be really safe, I just like, just wall off. I can kill it when I want to move out. So I just full wall, build a sentry, build a shield battery, keep doing my build. That's literally it. That's it. Full wall with gate or core, shield battery, warp in a sentry, continue build. Minimal deviation, and it's really important, this bit, continue build, because a lot of people are like, but now he's not committing. And they make like 8 sentries and they just stare at their wall. It's fine. You've got more than enough to defend if you do all that. You will absolutely destroy it. Absolutely destroy it. Why no battery during the Bane Bust? Oh, I did drop one. It's just, I mean, dropping it as the fight's happening, it's not really going to kick in time. But yeah, so here, guys, like I said, I could have warped in a sentry and easy got the force field. I could have moved the Immortal and the Stalker and these units up and held position them there, and that also would have held it off. He didn't have enough Banelings to actually crack the wall. So if we just moved extra units up, or if I even had a Stalker in the wall to begin with, a Stalker is armored, so it takes a lot more Banelings to kill. He wouldn't have been able to get in here, and we'd kill most of these Zerglings. They would be eventually able to tear the wall down, but by then I'd have killed enough Zerglings, I'd have warped in a good little pack. Instead, I let him in. I let him surround my units. Even here, if these units fell back to this choke point, it would have been a different story as well. But we let him get a full surround, which is never advisable. And so obviously, probes are forced to fight. I do cancel some gateways, pull off gas. I do some pretty high level maneuvers here. Realizing, oh shit, okay, cancel, you know. You're gonna see this cancel in a moment. A move probes. I should have canceled that gas as well. Like shit, need minerals. But a very cute little attack from my opponent, and did catch us off guard. So if you guys struggle with this, always put a Stalker in the wall rather than a Zealot or an Adept, number one. And pay attention to your Observer. Your Observer should be out on time and it should deal with this. Back to rehearse though, earlier on, I think what's so great is my opponent did do a pretty well-timed 12 pool attack, guys, and we got to see the change to the build. So the moment you realize you are being 12 pooled or proxied, what do? And that is, we immediately drop a second pylon, build a Zealot, we go second gateway Cybercore to complete the wall off, and we then chrono out 2 Zealots and an Adept. And we stop at just 16 probes on minerals, 3 on gas, 21 probes total, including the Scout. He even split a Zergling to go after the probe. Jesus. And then the Nexus. It's going to go down. Obviously not as high priority, because we are up 6 probes this whole time. You're way ahead on income. And go back to the normal build from here. Make Warp Gate, make a Stalker, get your Robo up, do your normal thing. And that's it, guys. So this was really cool. We got a lot more pressure put on us this time. Very much, mate. Guys, if you're enjoying the games, please do not only ask questions, but also let us know in the chat any queries you have, any thoughts. Why do this? Why not do that? Preferably if it's a why not question, add a little bit of details on why you think it would be a good idea, because I'm not a mind reader. You know, let me know your thought process. Give us some context. It really helps me out. Don't be afraid to ask stupid questions. I've asked more stupid questions than you could even ever imagine. That's why I'm better at this game than you guys are. Any pros in the chat? There might be a few people in chat who are better than me. Probably 4? 2? I don't know. I can't imagine there's that many high-level players watching Bronze to GM. Probably not. Is that a question to me, Sir Grovington, or the other guy? Alright, guys. Alright, cool. Opponent has walled their base off. Hello. You can see because your probe already knows that it's walled out, which is why it goes on that derpy path, guys. Well, we're not talking about players of Elemental Conflux, Printf. What are you talking about, dude? Alright, guys, so he's walled us out. And look at this. We run away in that direction, and then we go hide behind his natural. So it looks like we left, but we didn't. Big brain tactics. Alright, so we build the cyber core, which means we go back to probing. We go to second gas. We then queue another probe, and then we go to second pylon. Go there. Okay. Max Ann says, so who checks there? The fuck? So you open Robo, you defend a +1 stim shield push, and you see Terran move out to take a third. You have 3 Colossus and charge done. Do you move out to attack or take the 4th? Always move out to attack. Easiest path to victory is usually the best one. Unless there's a very good reason, like a lot of tanks behind a wall, but with charge, should be good. Alright guys, so our opponent doesn't have an expansion. That doesn't matter till 3:30, remember. 3:30, if there's no expansion, then we'll react. Until then, continue the build. Queuing up probes, 33 supply in a moment. So let's do that super advanced trick that I talked about. Let's grab the worker that pops out here on 33 and use him to build 2 gateways and then pylon. While we're waiting for the money for the pylon, we'll box those, add them to the gateway hotkey, build the pylon, and then first macro cycle, guys. Another chrono. So we queued up enough probes for that. And what we're going to do, guys, we're going to send a stalker across just to see what's going on. See if there's an expand or anything like that. Obviously, doesn't necessarily see, but it might see an attack coming or something like that. And indeed it does. Alright, this is the easiest one of my life, guys. I know you guys like panicking and shit. You're like, nah. So what you want to do, control click all your probes, put them on number 2. And this is what you do. A, move the stalker, and then you mineral walk the probes to your 3rd. And then you A move them. And then you A move that guy, add it to number 1. And then you grab those guys. And then you go back to mining. And then you go, the barracks are either here, here, or here. So you try to hunt them down with your stalkers. And you just keep warping in stalkers. We never depowered our production at the front, which is obviously a huge mistake. We were about to build a shield battery as he came in there, by the way, for those who don't know. And he's gone and built a Reaper behind it. So very cute attack, but it was only 2 proxy barracks. Behind this, chrono probes, go back to your build order, okay? Go back to your build order. Yeah. Okay. So this was obviously something where that was pretty sick from him, guys. Now, keep in mind that's so committed. I'm gonna just take my hands off the mouse and keyboard. So it, obviously, look, if we didn't handle that with as much finesse, like, so first of all, what was I looking at with those probes is his Marines were here. So if I mineral walked there, I wouldn't have surrounded them. So I needed to click on the minerals on one of these bases north to get my probes to go through that choke point and surround here, right? So that's the trick with the probe surround. Now, if I wasn't as good at that, maybe I just come in and I just try and surround him like here. Or maybe I pull back and I try to come around with half And if he pulls back, maybe I pull my probes back and I try to just bait him into the open with my stalkers and then surrender. It's going to be hard either way. It's going to require a bit of response, but you're going to notice that a lot of those attacks, that was only 7 or 8 Marines, if you just gather your probes together and you move them with whatever units you have, you'd be surprised by how many games you win with that. You'd be amazed. You really would. High-level chess players get a bunch of players arranged ahead of time when they do it. Pig's big enough, he doesn't need to smurf. Yeah, I mean, what can I say, guys? I don't like smurfing either, but this is what people love. This has been the go-to in the StarCraft scene and gaming scenes for a long time. I've never enjoyed it, but I figure whatever. It's a very easy way of doing it. If I get people lined up for it, I can do that. It's not going to be particularly realistic because they will all play different in customs, but I mean, yeah, I'm not going to spend time debating it. I've pointed out many times that I never wanted to do a Bronze to GM, and there's infinitely better ways than actually playing against low-level players to teach concepts and show things. You don't really need even to line up lower-level players. There's just better ways to do it in general, which is talking about concepts and build orders and, you know, putting them into action and that sort of stuff, right? But, yeah. I'm not going to get dragged into that. I'm not going to get dragged into that. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. Yeah, you guys know how I feel about Bronze to GM. It is the chicken nugs of the StarCraft scene. And, yeah, after 10 years of everybody else doing it and people caving, I sold out and I did it. I sold out and I did it. And I don't think we'll ever do it again after this one, but it is what it is. Some people get very offended by it. That's fine. How do you split the probes when you have all of them? Oh, okay, yeah, we can show you guys that again. Here we go. Right click, shift, left click, left click, left click. Let go of shift. Right click, shift, left click, left click, left click. Right click. Yeah, people get kind of weird. Because, like, don't get me wrong. Some people will get really angry about losing a Smurf. Some won't. At this point, I just go whatever. It's not worth thinking about too much. Yeah, I'm not sitting here tooling people as much as I can. Yeah, absolutely toxic. You guys can link it up for you in the chat. Thank you.
We are one with the shadow.
Yeah. He's just trying to derail. No, fair enough. It's fine. He's probably not trolling. Probably just gets pretty triggered by it because he's played against a lot of Smurfs. I also don't spend a lot of time playing with my food. My games are pretty quick and decisive. And you know, most people will run into me at most once on a ladder. So it's kind of like free-range chicken. You're still murdering an animal to eat it, but it's like a little bit better than the factory farming. I guess that's... I mean, this guy just didn't have anything after his failed push. He's trying to go battle cruisers here, and we're not going to let him get to that. So, yeah, no worries, guys. Oh, he's got Banshees there. I didn't even see that. Damn. Do we have an observer still? No, I lost my observer. Okay. So check this out, guys. If you're ever in a situation like this, remember the power of battery overcharge. That Stalker ain't going to take any damage. Sorry, guys. Kind of got distracted and derailed there while reading chat. So what you want to do, guys, drop defense squad. Shift, box. A lot of people forget you can shift box. Doesn't have to just be shift clicking. You can also shift box. Alright, his last building is going to go down. And we should be good. Build a cannon in each mineral line. If there's ever Banshees, guys, gets you once. Shame on him. Gets you twice. Shame on him. GG, well played. Yeah. So, like I said, if they haven't proxied you, you don't need to react that hard. This guy did a build that can get you to diamond and beyond, no matter how inefficiently you do it, and that is you wall off, deny scouting, and then you do a proxy. Because your opponents won't expect it. So this is something where, because people, you know, just don't react quick enough, it kills so many people. Thing is, the way he should have done it is he should have built like 4 barracks here, and he should have pulled all the SCVs with it, done it as a proper all-in, would have been way stronger. Keep in mind, guys, this is still only 8 Marines, right? Now, if I had 2 Stalkers at home, it would actually be a lot easier because Stalkers can 4-shot a Marine. So I could stutter step all these Marines away. I could literally just run these probes to my main, and I could just stutter step. So shoot, pull back. A move, get a volley off, pull back. And I could kill most of the Marines by the time they get to my main mineral line. Because Stalkers outrange the Marines by 1, 5 versus 6 range, and because the Stalkers have 4.13 move speed versus 3.15, almost about 25% extra move speed, it really, really makes a big difference. So you can just chip them down. Now that's something we haven't really had a chance to do too much of, so I'm kind of sad I only had 1 Stalker there. I'm kind of sad about that, because it's so, so important. Why? It says, how do you fast warp in? That's called rapid fire. Why? And that's at the start of the video. If you want a thread detailing it, but if you go back earlier in the stream to just after the first game, I show you guys how to set that up. But there's some threads there that also detail how you can set them. All right, guys, let's just talk you guys through the basics. Let's commentate everything I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to queue up 2 probes, make sure another probe starts. We've got camera location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and rally point. Camera location number 6. We're going to go across the map, do a circle, and then hide behind the natural. We're going to chrono our probes and take the gas behind that. And it's PvP. Our opponent's A moved, and they might not have even noticed that their probe is following ours, guys. So you see, he's like, oh shit, why'd my scout turn around? It's like, that's why you don't put your scout on A move. You put your army on A move, you don't put your scout. Now, notice, guys, there's 3 on that patch, and there's only 1 on that patch. So you can always fix that shit up, dog. Hello. And he is cannon rushing. So, guys, we're going to attack the probe with 1. So shift
I want you to follow my bed like
probe with the
rain.
others.
Like when it's the wet
Rally
season
back
at
to
my
minerals.
farm.
And what are we going to do? We're going to go a Zealot, because that's a good fighting unit. And we're going to also build a pylon up here. Keep building probes in the meantime. And you can see, as long as you've got some guys attacking the probe, should be good. And super pro move is you cut it off, just like that. And you can see he's actually gone and killed my scouting probe, but he's probably just expanding now. So what we're going to do is we'll kill that, and then we'll go back there. And then Zealot will A move across the map, and back to the normal plan. Cybercore's out of time, that's fine. Get the Nexus going, get the guys on gas, back to probe production, get the second gas. And in this scenario where you're building units earlier, you do need to remember to get a 3rd pylon, because that Nexus is so delayed, right? So against these sort of rushes, you want to do that, okay? So we're going to make a Stalker, make a Warp Gate, upgrade as well. We've already got too many probes here. And let's actually build that out in the open, so we can just put all these guys there. And there's a cannon in the middle of nowhere. This is so dumb. You can walk right past that. This is so bad.
Justice.
It's worth putting extra emphasis on that 23 pylon. Yeah, yep. Similar to the previous rush, putting a pylon down, if you ever are building any unit out of your gateway unit, if you're ever in a situation where you're being rushed, guys, 2nd pylon plus Zealot, they fit together. Like, they have to go together, those 2 things. So we're going to do a run by here, guys. And you'll notice, check it out, we're in his base. Now, I'm just going to hide the Zealot because he's so low. And notice, if we fight here, we can maybe do some stuff. But we can't, so let's just ignore it. So, Stalker will die, that's fine. Chronoing probes, where's our Robo at? So our Robo didn't go down until very late this game, but our opponent can't have anything. So, we'll get Twilight straight away. We're just going to kind of head up the tech tree and get all those pieces that we need. Now, because everything's so slowed down, we could take a 3rd straight away and do a 3-base charge at Arcana model, right? He's already massing cannons and batteries. Those aren't going to give him any ability to threaten us. That means he's turtling. So we're going to show you guys a reaction. We're going to react, actually. We'll do this. Why not? So we're going to take a third base. We're not going to get gases on it. It's still going to be just 4 gases. So the difference is an extra 16 probes on a third base. Might sound like a lot. Doesn't change that much. It's really not that crazy. And because our opponent just has so little, really shouldn't matter. Now, because our opponent has shown that they are cannon rushing and stuff, they're a bit of... Some people might have some nasty names for what they'd call them. What are we doing with these stalkers, guys? Can you guys see what I'm doing with the minimap? So basically, I'm shift clicking, and I'll show you guys on screen so it's more clear. It's hard to see on the minimap. We're checking for proxies and corner bases. Because someone who cannon rushes is also someone who's going to proxy you after or take corner base. Behind this, what are we doing, guys? Taking gases, we're just chilling. We've got an observer out for scouting. We can make an immortal. We can put our guys there, keep chronoing probes. Why are we chronoing probes? Because we've got a third base, so it makes sense to chrono probes for a bit longer in this scenario, if that makes sense, guys. Put a few more guys, we put these guys on. And notice, everything's rallied to the natural, but the moment the next probe pops out, change the rally to the third. Its main base is finished, rally to the natural. Natural's finished, rally to the third. Okay? And queue up a ton more probes. Awesome. And check this out. What's this? Our opponent going for a very greedy third base that he's going to try and just walk cannons to, because that's what we're playing against right now. Okay, so even when your opponent is a very funny person who's doing a comedic kind of build order, like, I'm gonna make 400 cannons everywhere, then yeah. Alright, so we're gonna make 4 more gateways, 6 more gateways. Where's that 7th gateway gonna go? There we go. And check it out, guys. How many more probes do we need? Not many. That's almost finished. Maybe 1 or 2 more probes. Notice we've got no units. We'll make a sentry for Guardian Shield just because why not? And notice these stalkers, we don't care about this, guys. Oh, starter step. I wanted to show you guys starter step. Okay, so we're going to show you guys defensive starter step. Run away, A move. Run away, A move. Run away, A move. Run away, A move. Now, this is not the best micro because we should be hitting his stalker. And A move. And at this point, we can of course back off. But basically, it's just a nice little rhythm exercise at its core, guys. Templar Archives plus lots of pylons. And yeah, we could basically go and attack him in the near future. Let's have a little scout with our observer, shall we? I bet there's 2 cannons behind. And Void Rays! Can you guys believe my opponent's building cannons and Void Rays? I never would have guessed. What? This is a creative I've never thought of this combination. This is genius. I don't know how do these players come up with these brand new ideas all the time, guys? How do they do it? Same thing. Dumb jokes aside. If your opponent's building cannons everywhere, same thing as if they're making a planetary, guys, you can do things like this. 4th base, 5th base. Okay? Now, you might be wondering, why am I not building units that shoot up? We'll just send a zealot over there. The reason is very simple. I was talking about this earlier, how I actually think it's better, and we're going to go to this right side, attack in here towards the main and the natural, rather than the third, where I think most of his defenses will be. Void Rays take forever to kill zealots, and zealots just do a lot of damage. So, will I make Blink in response to Void Ray play? Yeah, sure, we'll make Blink, why not? Should I make Double Forge if we're going 5 bases? Sure, we'll do that. But we're not really going to take any more gases. We're just going to take a 4th base, 5th base, get the Double Forge. We're going to make 1 round of Archons here, which actually will beat Void Rays in small numbers. And we'll add all that to our army group, shift 1, make the Archons. And here's a really cute move against the turtle player, guys. We're going to send the Prism in the back. And we're going to try and siege that up there, and then warp it. And these guys are going to A-move from the left side on the front. Now, I always say, gather your units up. If you can, let's try and micro the sentry forward. We pop the Guardian Shield, so let's try and get that Guardian Shield on those units. And notice the Prism is going to come in the back. And we can just kind of A-move these units. I mean, the Archons are doing great. And then you've got a ton of Zealots in there. Those guys are on that base. Those Zealots, I don't know if they're going to be able to overwhelm that. So here's, you could do really advanced micro and shift click the probes, or we could just ignore that base and kill everything else, which is, like I said, the third is where your opponent will expect you to attack. If you go around that, you have a very good chance of taking them out. And the moment that attack runs out, what do we do? These two, we transfer 8 from there over to our 4th base, over here on the left side. We make sure our 5th is control grouped as well. We hold the probe key down so we can go up to like 80 probes. And then what do you do with 80 probes, Pig? Well, what's the point? That's too much. Now, you don't want to actually do this unless your opponent's playing like Planetary Raven, Mass Cannon Battery, like stuff which is just them jerking it. Like if your opponent's whole strategy is just to sit there doing nothing, and then you just do this, and then you go, how many gateways is this, guys? 19, not enough. We like even numbers. We're like 20. And then you just go, okay, you have carriers or void rays or whatever, and you just hold the stalker key down and you just blink on them and you click them one at a time, and it doesn't matter how inefficient it is because you have the whole map. And another little thing you would do in the midst of all this is, of course, we could set up like pylons around the edges just to see things coming our way, right? That's good. It also allows us to do little warp-ins. And you want to also do things like, oh, let's make sure he can't expand. So I'll put a zealot there, and I'll put a zealot on this base. Don't let them just build a base and build 10 cannons there for free. That's a really nice way of saying it. So what you're saying is I don't need to headbutt into my opponent's concentration of cannons? Yes, surprisingly, yes. But that's a nice pattern, guys. If they got mass cannon there, attack there into the natural. It's very common for people to put all their defenses right up the front and center. GG's. GG. Alright. Guys, if you're enjoying the games, please do, or getting anything out of today, please do click the sub button. Help us out. Click that sub button. So in regards to that previous game, Void Rays have a tendency to clump up. So if your opponent doesn't micro them, they'll clump up and they'll take a lot of Archon splash. Also, Archons aren't armored units, so they don't take bonus damage. So the Void Rays take a long time to kill the Archons. So Archons aren't the most elegant answer, but they will just be a nice, efficient way of occupying and potentially killing the Void Rays while your Zealots kill everything else. And we can swap into Blink Stalkers behind that if we need to versus an air player. But the trick there is before we go to that stage, we want to do a big attack, see if we can do some damage, number one. And then number two, not only see if you can do damage, guys, you want to also try to... So not only make sure you see if you can do damage, but then also make sure you have 5 bases and double forge and just a crazy economy if you're going to play against Mass Air, Mass Raven, Mass Battlecruiser, any super late game stuff. You have so much time to be so greedy. So those are the games where you really want to practice your different mode of StarCraft, your much greedier mode of StarCraft. And it's gonna completely change things. Thank you so much, Bad Manna. I really appreciate the love, dude. Thank you so much. All right, what do we got, guys? Terran player. All right. So he's denied my scouting, which is fine. So you can hang around, and if those SCVs float to the outside, you can attack them. So you see, we just A move now, and we'll actually attack that SCV. Let me in. It's a Eric Andre probe, that is. So I've targeted that SCV to make sure I chase him. You're dead! You're dead, boy! Alright, so now this core is down, we resume probing. So it's probe, gas, and then another probe, and then a pylon, okay? Alright guys, so we're gonna hide this guy over there. Put this pylon out here. Always lots of production space. We love that production space. And just making sure all those camera locations are up. They are. Beautiful. Now, remembering from our previous game, what if we don't see a natural by 3:30, how about we go scout for proxies, eh? I think that's a good idea. And you could even do this by default if you got the APM. It doesn't really cost you anything if you think about it, right guys? Chrono warp gate as well. Check this out. If you're worried about scouting, just build the robo in your main. We can build the second and third gateway to finish the wall-off. Wall-off's not that important. And as always, guys, lots of probes here. Lots and lots of probes. First stalker's out. So like, yeah, I could send my stalker around to be like, hey, let's look for a proxy, you know? That's something I could do. Of course, it's a bit dangerous because a Reaper could be coming in, but whatevs. Can't be too paranoid. I mean, you can't, like, I mean, you shouldn't be too paranoid is what I'm saying. I'm like, Well, I guess you can. I'm like, wait a second. So we go second and third gateway on 33. Remember, what do we do after that, guys? Pylon. But all our production's down here, so let's make sure we build that pylon at the front so it's not vulnerable. Is there a natural yet? So we'll run this probe up here and see what we see, guys. We're building 4 probes behind it, and we see, wow, lots of barracks building. Lots of units, eh? On one base. So we're going to get a shield battery as well. Going to make that 3rd stalker, as always. Luckily, our build order is super safe. Going to send that observer across the map. And we're just going to keep doing our build. So the only difference here, guys, is we just want to probably keep warping in stalkers after the 6 stalkers in the immortal. Because our opponent's on one base, building lots of army. That's going to allow us to be just a bit safer. So we've got the observer, goes on group number 2. We'll send it across. The immortal on the way. We don't have a chrono for it just yet. And we've got 3 stalkers, and we'll warp in 3 more in the near future. How do you use camera locations? So basically you go like Control F1 to create it, and then I press F1 and it jumps me there. So how you want to set those up is, it's one of the more advanced mechanics. I really love it. I think it's one of the greatest skills to develop in StarCraft, but it does take a little bit of getting used to, so it's not everyone's favorite thing early on. Now notice we're building a lot of pylons, guys, because we're worried about getting attacked right now, right? And we're going to scout. We're going to go, look at the size of that army. So we're going to react by building more units. And I'm even going to make another shield battery here because this is freaking scary. I'm also going to make a sentry for Guardian Shield. And you know what, guys? Against bio like that, why don't we make lots of sentries? What do you guys think? I think lots of sentries would be a great idea. Here's a really cute thing you could do, guys. I'm going to right-click my observer on that marine so it just follows. So we're going to make a bunch of sentries here and keep building probes and just keep building units here. Now this is a perfect scenario for Colossus. So if we want, we could swap into Colossus against a guy who's doing nothing but mass bio on one base. Oh really, I followed the one marine that's being used as a scout? What are the chances? Alright, we'll click on a marauder. I'm going to send a hallucination, and we're just going to quickly check that there's not a hidden base in the corner, because my spidey senses are starting to tingle, guys. We're going to make another immortal, and we will make some more gateways. I guess we should make a Twilight Council. To be fair, we could have just gone charge here. I just kind of felt like showing you guys how good sentries could be against a guy who's trying to force his way in with bio. He doesn't have any tanks, so no range advantage. Doesn't have anything like that. If I had charge, this would probably be a little bit simpler. Now, because he's coming, a lot of people will tunnel vision. What am I doing? I'm building pylons. Because there's nothing worse than when these gateways finish, not having supply for that. Now notice we let some of the units up, but not too many. So this is what we call abusing your opponent with the power of the force field. And if he tries to come up again, he's just going to get absolutely banged. So we go Colossus, range. And he's going to come up again. And we're just going to split him one more time. And you see, we can just keep making sentries. We can make some zealots for tanking. And really, really big attack. I bet this kills 90% of the players on the ladder up to Diamond League, to be honest. It's a really, like, pretty powerful build. It's a lot of stuff. And he's going to come up there. And we're going to swap into zealots now because we're going to have charge. We've also got Colossus on the way, very gas heavy, so swapping into charge zealots is going to be especially effective there. Alright, so that's probably going to be Gigi from my opponent. Warp Prism after the Colossus, and I think we can probably go straight across the map. We just need to chrono charge so that it's ready as quickly as possible. I'm trying to show you guys some reactions to things because I was just getting really bored of winning with the same thing every game. So that's part of why I'm kind of shifting things. You don't need to really change the composition here. I do think early on, definitely there's something you do have to be wary of, right? So the thing is, you've got to remember, if you don't have charge, zealots are shit. I guess that's what we need to be wary of. So why is swapping a Sentry Stalker Immortal for a bit longer better? It's because I felt like there's a dangerous window. We didn't know when he was going to attack. If we knew he would attack so late, I could have gone straight charge and got it up in time. But if we didn't know that, and he hits us just as our 10 gateways and our charge is finished, we could die. So we're just going to Guardian Shield, move on up this ramp. We should be able to knock him out of this game. We do take him out there. Very nice. So a really powerful one base all in there on 3 barracks. That's a pretty damn powerful build. But you see what I'm talking about, right? So there's this point where normally I would be going Twilight Council, but about like, what, 5 minutes normally I think I get the Twilight Council. But instead, I'm putting money into another Immortal, very expensive. I'm warping in another shield battery. I'm adding a sentry for Guardian Shield. And then I'm thinking, wait, maybe Force Fields would be great as well. So there's a lot of different things being added on, and that slows down any potential charge. If I was to go charge, it's something where you kind of need to have overwhelming numbers. And that there is a big ball of bio. So Zealots charging into that are just going to run into it and die unless I can match his army count. Now, why on a fundamental level do I know I can't do that? That's it right there in the top left of your screen, guys. I have double his worker count. I've gone 2 full bases. He's gone 1. So in that sort of situation, I need to create a sort of combat asymmetry. Because if it's, I have units that fight, and he's like, I have units that fight, then essentially, obviously the person with more units is going to win. So we made units that are going to scale really well defensively at holding choke points, at fighting with shield batteries, healing them, where they can stand behind the gateways if they need to. So we started adding sentries to the Immortal Stalker, and then we even went into Colossus tech as well. So I actually changed my composition. Now, do I need to do that? No, but if I wasn't going to do that, I would need to change my build order. So what do I mean by that? I would need to not take these gases, cut at maybe just 14 or 15 workers on the natural, and not bother with the Templar Archives, probably skip the extra Stalkers, and just get my gateways, my charge, my Twilight. So I need to get my Twilight, my charge, my gateways up earlier, so I could get 8 gates, not 10 gates, just 8 gates of Zealots warping in, so that by the time he attacks me, I have 16, 20 Zealots, enough to actually fight him. And then that might be okay, especially with maybe a Guardian Shield plus those Zealots would be awesome. But that's going to be a very different way of playing. So that's a very different way of playing where I need to cut the economy short. I showed you guys the same economic build in terms of 2 full bases, but a very different composition. So I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but I hope it does, the explanation there, that if I'm fighting with more of a brute force army like Zealots and Archons, we've got to actually go and make sure we don't go too far ahead on workers, because if we do, we're just going to get overrun. On the other hand, if we're going units that are really good at defending and really good at countering his units, I can push my greed a little bit further, and I can still rely on hanging on. This was, of course, exacerbated by his terrible attack angle. He chose the worst attack angle. He could have gone around the right side and fought me in the open. Would have been a lot harder for me. On the left side, the way he attacked, not the way you should do it. Also, my opponent made the classic mistake here, guys. Right as his army's getting to my base, he's looking at home. That's something you should never be doing. You've spent 6 minutes building up to 1 army. You should put all your focus in that army. You should be getting it up to here and then stimming up this ramp and diving into my base to wreck my face. But he just wasn't even looking, and that's such a disaster, man. Such a disaster. Doesn't even stim there, which ends up being good because the force field wrecks him. But it's actually such a terrible thing to ever do, but especially with a 1 base all in. That attack is going to decide this game. And he tries to do it again. He once again doesn't pre-stim. Imagine if he pre-stimmed, I've got so much less time to force field that. In fact, he didn't stim at all. My opponent's whole build is based around a stim all in, and I don't think they stimmed once. GG's. Stuff. All right, guys, let's do it. Let's get straight into it. Basically, today we'll just keep focusing on the macro cycle, and we'll start to, especially as we hit gold, but we'll start already in silver just because we're bored. Scouting for general tells. So we're going to be looking for signs of greed and signs of aggression, and trying to talk through that each time we scout an opponent's base and explain that, because I said we were going to introduce scouting a lot earlier as Protoss in terms of trying to be critical and kind of understanding what's going on. Hey, you're doing another Bronze GM to 0? Yeah, the final one, Protoss. We've done Zerg, then we finished Terran, doing Protoss now. kind of talking about, well, what would our reaction be if we see a sign of aggression? If say we see an army move out that looks kind of big enough that we don't think we can handle it, or if we see, oh, this guy has, you know, eight gateways and no tech and no signs of greed, all signs of aggression, right? Basically, the idea is make units and don't be so focused on powering all the way to 10 gateways. If you can even just get to 6 gateways or 8 gateways and just do that while constantly building units and pylons, then that's going to be pretty big, isn't it? Also improving our attack. We're going to try and scout with the observer, take stock of how they're set up, and make a plan on how to engage. Now, people are going to probably want me to talk through that live. I'm not going to talk through it too long live, but we're going to try and make a habit of rewinding each game to make sure we explain in more detail whatever I try to vocalize when I'm doing it, because we don't want to waste such a long time, right? We don't want to waste such a long time. Just, oh, how should I attack, right? We don't want to get in a bad habit of that. But we do want to just try and be a little bit more aware of what's going on, right? Because people... Yeah, I think the biggest problem people run into with this sort of content is I'm like, just focus on this, do this well. And they do that, and then they never, of their own volition, move to the next thing. And the whole point of focusing on one thing is allowing you to get good at that, make it automatic, make it feel natural, and then move on to kind of consciously focusing on adding new things. And there's always details that you can add to it. So it's not, oh, just move your Zealot Immortal Archon and that'll win you every game. It's do that, focus on hitting it at a crisp timing and getting and benchmarking it, hitting it at a good moment, and bam, that's going to be awesome, right? Because if you can hit at a good time, that's most of the battle, sure. But obviously, once that becomes natural and automatic, we want to kind of layer the next step on top, which is let's fucking look at what we're attacking into. Let's send a prism in the back of the base and warp in zealots, move them into the enemy mineral line, and then focus on microing our army on the front. So the classic two-pronged attack, something we're going to be doing a lot of as well. All right, guys, let's continue. And of course, for those who are watching on YouTube, this might be continued with the VOD. This is my first game back after last week. So
Thanks for the Bezos.
let's try and remember the build. All right, guys. Hotkey, camera location, the main. Change the rally point back in the main. And what are we going to do? Build the pylon.
Thanks for the Bezos box.
And we'll just have that ready to build a gateway. Now, we are playing a PvP on one of the smallest maps in the pool. Queue up the extra probe, of course. And remember, what do we do, guys? Gateway, scout, chrono boost. Okay? And if you want to do the chrono boost first, you can do it that way. We go chrono, queue up more probe. We can build the gas geyser. So notice I'm moving that there before I even have the money, just so I can put it down straight away. Queue up more probes, because we've got that chrono on there. We need to make sure we're really focused on queuing more probes. Rally to the gas, and then we can double tap number 1 for our main army. And we can check what our opponent's doing, and then hide behind the natural. Now that we've given that order, what do we do next, guys? We queue up to 20 probes, so no more probes after that. And we rally our 19th one down to our natural. Now we've got a whole bunch of different focus points. My opponent pulled their probes to try to catch me there. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. And it looks like they've built a forge as well. So I haven't seen a probe near my base, but I'll just quickly check. In case they are cannon rushing out here. It doesn't look like they are, but alright. Alright, so now we'll build the cyber core on 20, same as always, and then we go back to probing, right? So build the cyber core, bring this guy back up onto that gas. Then what do we go, guys? 21-second gas, then build another pylon, another probe, sorry, and then another pylon, okay? We want lots of production space, so we'll go like that. Change the rally point on our nexus to there. And what do we see, guys? We see my opponent has expanded. So we can just run home with this probe now, okay? And he's building cannons and zealots. So what are cannons, guys? Cannons are signs of greed. We're going to sign, and so is an expansion, which means we don't have to worry about anything from our opponent. We're going to chrono a stalker, make warp gate, same as always, guys. And we can now 16-3-3. Right around the time you start these gateway units, you rally down to your natural. Now notice, what do we do, guys? I like to rally my next side and select that and rally that to the other side. And that just makes sure your probes are going to be popping out in different places. Queue up another Stalker. We're building more probes. Let's make that Robo, shall we, guys? So we're going to make a Robo now as well. So we're going to talk a bit more about it after this game. This game's more warm-up. But essentially, whenever we're scouting, we want to be looking for signs of greed versus signs of aggression. And that's kind of a really constant thing you're always going to be looking for is you're going to be... Because a lot of people are like, what does this mean if they're doing this? What are they doing? And in StarCraft, it's a game of incomplete information. And it's also a game of vast options and lots of flexibility. So rather than trying to know exactly what your opponent's doing at all times, like you might hear pro gamers, oh, we built the 2 gateways on 33. Let's build a pylon. Guys, let's make sure we don't get supply blocked. Maybe another pylon just to make sure. You might hear pro gamers have like really ultra detailed analysis of like, oh, I spotted this at this time, it means he's doing this. So that's not really anything that you should ever be using, that sort of analysis, probe there, until you're very high level. Now you might be wondering, well, why is that? Why can't I use that sort of analysis? And the reason is, your opponents aren't playing to a tight meta. They aren't following a set of rules. Because they're noobs. You're playing noobs. You're a noob and your opponents are noobs. Now remember, there's a cannon there, guys, so let's just move our observer outside the base and we'll have to manually kind of steer that inside. Keep building probes here. And what do we want, guys? 3 Stalker warp-ins and we're chronoing the Immortal. So remember, the Immortal plus 6 Stalkers, that keeps us safe early on. Let's build another pylon there. And what are we going to do after that? Of course, the Twilight Council, very important, so we can get that charge going, right? But we're saturated on our natural. Let's build the gases there. Build another pylon up there, kind of like a spotting pylon. Notice we've got good production space, but this pylon here isn't really important. If you think about it, guys, 2 of our most important structures are at the front, so we should probably have another pylon up there, right? So let's go in with our observer now. Actually, before you go in with the observer, let's think about what we're doing next. Okay, let's build 1 more pylon. Let's build our last probe to get up to 44. And what are we going to do, guys? We're going to scout, and when we come home, we'll make charge and lots of gateways, because that's the next part of the build. So what are we seeing? So we see a forge. We saw that early on. Big sign of greed. Cannon, static defense, sign of greed. Twilight Council, that's a tech structure. Gas is going down, another sign of greed, in that it means he's not just going minerals, but also gas on the base. Has a pretty good probe count. And at the front, just a whole stack of zealots. So it looks like my opponent's just massing zealots and just doing a pretty chill build. So let's quickly jump home. And what do we do, guys? Same as always. 5, 6, 7 gateways. Then we'll build our Templar Archives. And what can we do? Well, we're going to control click the gateways, add them to our gateway hotkey. And what can we do? We can start warping in zealots. We can build another Immortal as well. Chrono that, then make a warp prism. And let's make some more pylons. Super chilled. Now remember, if there was a sign of an attack coming, we've written up a whole thing here in this part of the document. Check the description below. !B2GM doc in the Twitch chat. And of course, same in the YouTube description. You can just see it sitting right there. And what are we doing? We're just preparing for our big old 2 base attack. Really simple, but we're going to do one thing different. And this time around, guys, we are going to send a prism in the back to send zealots there, as well as attacking the front. Now, in this case, there's cannons in the main. So if we do that, we probably want to unload here and warp in there so we can kill that cannon quickly and then start doing big damage. All right, let's do 1 big zealot warp in, control click, shift 1. And our main army, because we don't want to attack up this shitty ramp, remember we're going to come to the left side and see what we can do. So we're going to A move. Our warp prism is going to go across. Now, you might be like, oh, so does this mean that... And actually, you know what, guys? I might just fly along the back of the natural and go in here into the main, because then I'm completely away from the cannons except that one. Now, the trick here is we still want to do everything else the same. Build a few more pylons, by the way. Pretty important. So what do I mean? I mean, we're still warping in all these Archons on the front, and only then are we going to move this warp prism along the back. So what are we doing, guys? We've queued that to move in along the very edge and then siege up. These guys are all added together, and these guys are going to A-move the front. I think we have enough, especially because Archons are really good. And then we're going to warp in the main. Now, our warp in's not quite ready, so we've kind of jumped the gun, you could argue. So what are we going to do? Just wait for it, wait for it. Looks like we've got overwhelming numbers, but normally what you'd do is you'd actually probably start with the zealots, and I'm just going to click them on the cannon, and you don't need to micro them past that. If there's no cannon, all I would have done, guys, is I would have clicked them in the minerals, because once they're there, they'll automatically go and fight the probes on their own. So normally what you do, if you think about that as a set play, is you get your army ready to attack, you fly this in, you warp in your zealots, you click them in the mineral line, and then you just put all your focus in your main army. And this is very important, because this is our first lesson in stop being a coward. What do I mean? Every player I ever coach, everyone I ever talk to, is stuck in the mindset of, I can't multitask. They're either, oh, I'm so good at multitasking, and their macro sucks, or I can't multitask. I can't do that. This is not multitasking. This is a set play. It's literally your army's just sitting there. You warp in the zealots, like I said, you click them in the mineral line, and then you micro this attack. You never look at those zealots. Pros do this all the time. They are not micromanaging as many different fights as you think. Sometimes they are. Occasionally, a lot of the time, they're queuing up problems into their opponent's base. That's kind of what this idea is with the zealots. They're saying, let's queue those units in. Let's queue a liberator into the back of the base, and that's going to distract them right as my main army hits. And I'm going to put all my focus in the main army. And that's it. Barthy Kin says, did you already cover Skytoss and F2? We're teaching people how to play StarCraft, Barthy Kin. StarCraft, not how to A-move. Yeah. So I've said in all my Bronze GMs, I'm not allowed to use F2 at all, because it's a useful tool, but to teach you guys, you shouldn't have a bad habit of it. So, because it's a terrible, terrible habit. It's a terrible crutch, right? If you rely on it. So I'm not using it till I'm either high plat or probably diamond. I'll save it to diamond. I'm joking, by the way, if that was an honest question. Kind of joking, kind of being serious. I also don't want to teach Skytoss because it's incredibly turtly and boring. Even for Protoss. Yeah, every race can F2 and play like a baboon if they want to. But I don't think that's very fun or satisfying, and I don't think you need much of a teacher to tell you how to just build cannons and void rays and carriers, right? It's pretty easy, mate. Would you mind showing more of the Stalker Sentry Colossus build later, says DataPen? Oh, absolutely. I would love a chance to just focus on force fields. So I think we'll do that a whole bunch in Gold League to start showing a different style. I think this style is probably easier to get wins with, but StarCraft and developing is all about developing your skills, right? It's all about developing your skills. So what should you be doing in terms of developing your skills? It's like, hey, let's do this composition and let's get better at force fields. Let's get better at this kind of ranged army and how I use that army and get comfortable with it. It's not necessarily about what's the easiest way to win, right? Because if you're focused just on the easiest way to win, you might go really far up the ladder, and then when you're trying to work on other skill levels, it'll be a little bit hard. Only Protoss can win with it, playing like a baboon? No, everyone can win by playing like a baboon. This is the common misconception, but again, people come from other games where there's like legitimate imbalance, and they're like, hello, streamer of StarCraft, which one's the strongest race? Which one can I easily beat people with? And I'm like, this is StarCraft. Even Protoss, where it's not as mechanically hard, so it's not as much still is very, very difficult because of the build tightness, the strategic kind of way you need to play and adapt to what your opponent's doing. Not to mention if you choose to play the fancier units, which a lot of us love, disruptors, storm drops, force fields, and use those well, it's suddenly very micro intense if you want to use those more complicated units as well. Hey, I just started watching a Terran Bronze GM. You speak about the core. I'm curious. I looked a bit. I was quite surprised. Camera locations aren't accessible in one key. Is that normal? Where do you put your hotkeys for camera locations? Is that normal? I mean, it's basically for the core. It's just so your hand doesn't have to reach. It's normal for the core. It's what Snoot was the first pro gamer to use. A few other pro gamers use it, where they just use like QWER with a modifier. The thing is, you're using two different fingers, Zero Snow. So if you think about it, pressing two keys, if you're using two separate fingers at the same time, it doesn't take any longer than just using one finger. Does that make sense? It's maybe a tiny fraction of a millisecond, because you've got to like hit with both at the same time. But it's like it's very normal. I've said in Bronze to Jam, and I've said it in all my videos and always on my stream, I don't recommend the core to any of you. But if you have any questions about it or concerns about why it's inefficient, go into the core Discord, !core, and ask the nerds in there. They know a lot more about it than me, and they will give you so much great info and they're happy. If you're curious about it and you really show like you're interested to learn, you've got serious questions, they love chatting to people about it and explaining to them the details and why it's optimized the way it is. So go in there and ask all your questions away. They love to help people. Okay guys, 735 is our benchmark. We played that pretty damn tight. It's probably playing a little bit too fast. First game, I'm always trying to remember the build a little bit and just kind of reminding myself of what I'm doing and getting used to talking. So I think I did play a little bit fast. Not that I'm trying to slow down for the sake of pretending to be a Silver Leaguer. You guys know I don't buy into that bullshit. It's just that I want to make sure I'm giving enough time for you guys to really absorb and follow what I'm doing. So a little bit faster than I would have liked to do here. We hit at 735 guys with 15 Zealots, 4 Archons, 2 Immortals, and 6 Stalkers, and the Warp Prism in the main can warp in those Zealots, but of course the warp in was a little delayed. I think that came in at like 745, something like that. Yeah, about 747 is when we warped in another 10 Zealots in the main, which is not bad. GG's. GG's. Cool. I want to learn how to macro, but I don't know when to stop making workers. Is 80 with 4 bases a good amount, says New Zebus? Way too many. What level are you? I recommend people just macro to 2 bases. So just macroing up to 2 bases well enough, that alone, it teaches you how to macro. That obviously it's another step to scale into a bigger economy and bigger production later. But I really think the best way to play is to just go for the 2 base, man. Because you hit that as fast as you can, you hit that 2 base economy, you turn that into army, and you go kill your opponent. So you're getting the macro and the let's actually use our macro and leverage it into a well-timed attack, right? So it's, does this attack work, and seeing if it pays off. If you really want to play a bigger style, you could go 3 base, but even then 60 workers is plenty. 58 is even fine, because your main base is going to half mine out at 830 anyway, so you can take 8 workers from there and use those to move over to your third and kind of add the gases on your third base. Depending on what, yeah, so don't take the gases on your third initially, but if you want to take 3 bases, you can do that. Even if you go 4 bases onwards, I always tell people, unless you're like very close to masters, there's no reason at all for you to be going above 66 drones. Because I see Masters players who don't use 66 drones anything close to correctly. Like nowhere near close to correctly. Like their army's just being used uselessly. So you've got to remember that just make sure you don't focus so hard on one skill that you leave all your other skills in the dirt, right? That's why I really like the idea of like, hey, and people have this idea like, oh man, if I focus on doing an attack off 2 base, I'm doing an all in, or like they have this like vague idea of like looking down on, because you're attacking, you're not learning the game. And it's like, dude, hitting that attack fast and on a tight timing, that is based off you having really good early game, good build order, good macro, you know, all that organization of how your build order gets there. That's really important. And that is going to have a much quicker feedback loop than you just being like, I'll take another base, I'll take another base. Because if your attack just is nowhere near the right number of units, you're very easily going to know immediately what's going on. Look at that, guys. Doubled up a worker like a pro gamer. Pylon there, mine minerals, and then go build the gateway. Change the rally point back and queue up, of course, guys, up to 16. So we need 1 more probe queued up. Let's set up our camera locations. Main, natural, 3rd, 4th, 5th. We jump to the rally point, which is already set up down here at my wall off. What do we do, guys? We go gateway, scout, chrono boost. We then go back to the gateway. We create our gateway control group. We're then going to take a gas. Keep queuing up these probes. Check our camera locations are all sorted. They are. Gonna rally onto the gas. Remember, what do we queue to, guys? 20. So now we can go to our probe, which I forgot to control group. Control 1. Scout our opponent. And then we're gonna go out and then hide behind the natural. And then we rally this guy down here. Oh, he's blocking us though. What a dick. Okay, guys. So what if the opponent blocks you? So what are we gonna do? Basically, continue doing your build. So we're going to build a zealot to clear it up. We'll attack it with that. And then we can attack the probe. So there we go. So I'm going to build a gateway and a pylon and go back to probing. Okay, guys? So, looks like he's leaving. And it looks like we didn't see anything crazy, guys. And we now see a Nexus, actually. So let's go home. Our Zealot can kill that. This guy doesn't need to chase him anymore. Keep building probes here. So we've got 16 on minerals, so we can rally onto the gas. So notice that we just continued the next part of the build. And then we do that. Guys, please help out people with all the noob questions in chat. Direct them back to the start of the Bronze to GM for like mechanical questions and stuff like that. So now we just keep building probes. Our Cybercore's done. So what do we do, guys? Chrono Boost Stalker. Chrono Boost Warp Gate. We don't have a Chrono for the Warp Gate. That's fine. And check this out. If we grab this, we go 16 on minerals, 3 on gas, 3 on gas. Now we can just rally down there. Now, because your Nexus is late, something you got to remember. Not only did I build the second pylon ahead of time, guys, but I need a third pylon. Otherwise, I'm going to get supply blocked. Because, check it out, guys. If I build a Stalker right now, 31 out of 31. So, you've got to remember, if your Nexus gets delayed and you've got to build a Zealot, remember, anytime you're dealing with aggression, you guys would remember earlier in the show, we faced a cheesy build order. First thing you do is build a Zealot, build a pylon, right? Because otherwise you get supply blocked. But also, if your Nexus has been delayed significantly, you always need to drop that third pylon a little bit ahead of time as well. Now, we could have got the Robo already. We've got plenty of money for that. So that Robo probably didn't need to get delayed so much, right? And we're still just going to make 3 Stalkers, same as always, keep building probes, and guys, remember, return cargo. Whatever that hotkey is for you, I think it's C on standard hotkey layout. Use that. And guess what? We're past 33 supply, the build order's wrong, we're missing it. Take a deep breath and try to follow the normal order. Don't be too attached to your supply counts. Things are a little delayed, but your opponent committed to sending a probe across, building a pylon, and as long as you just keep doing your build and you just basically pop the Nexus down the build order, you're like, oh, I'll do that in a little bit when I've cleared the pylon. But let's do the next step. What normally happens after a Nexus, guys? Cybercore, second gas, second pylon. So we've just kind of moved that up. If you think of your build order as a list, you've taken the Nexus from up here and you've just shuffled it down a few spots. This is something you get really good at the more you play StarCraft. All right, so we've got 3 gateways. We've got a Robo. Let's remember the macro cycle, guys. So build a pylon and build 4 probes. Good habit, right? Very good habit. Let's also make our Twilight Council. The earlier you make your Twilight Council, the sooner you can get charge. Charge is a pretty damn good upgrade, guys. We can get 1 more pylon up front as well. Just powering that gateway. Why not? We can, of course, control group the Observer. We're going to send that to the front of the base. Let's chrono boost the Immortal. And what have we not done yet? Stalkers. Remember, about 4 minutes 30, we want to have 6 Stalkers and an Immortal out. Everything's a little delayed this game. If we have it by 5 minutes, no worries. That's totally fine. We're going to take the double gases. And look, our opponent's hallucination scouting us. Very standard in this matchup, so we just A-move that. It dies twice as quickly. That's how you confirm that it's actually a hallucination. And notice, guys, we've already got all the workers we need. These last couple workers popping out will saturate our base. So we are completely good right now. The Immortal's here. We can look at the front with our Observer, take a quick look around while we're waiting for a little bit more money so we can explode in the gateways. We see an expansion, sign of greed. Forge, sign of greed. Now, if we see like 6 gateways up here, that's a big sign of aggression. 1, 2, 3, and a Robo. Robo is a tech structure, sign of greed. And sentries are kind of like a long-term spellcaster unit. We're not going to go into that too much. We'll just say that doesn't count as anything. No real strict tell there. Let's build a pylon because we're almost supply blocked. And let's go for these gateways, which we're going to have to spread across a lot of area because of the way I placed my buildings. And a little trick I did there, I don't know if you guys saw that, is before building this gateway, I told the probe to move here because I knew if it built it from here, it would get trapped in there. So I did a little shift-click move command. Pretty advanced, but it is what it is. All right. So after we do that, what do we do, guys? Well, our toast is in there, looking very lonely. So tasteless, no regret state. Bunch of GSL casters there. And what do? We're gonna make the Warp Prism. I forgot to make the second Immortal this game. We're kind of explaining the scouting there. Also, if you really want, you can always set up your Observer on Pervert mode, you know? So if we go like here, use that Pervert mode, it gives 25% wider vision. We should easily see any attacks moving out on our minimap. Not that we're really concerned, because at this point, we really want to fight in the next 2 minutes anyway, right? Look, all these gateways are coming up. Big Zealot warp in. Control click, shift 1. Warp prism, control 2. Once again, guys, let's go over here. We're going to attack from the left, warp in Archons, and then our prism is going to go hit the main. This is our new way of improving our attack, all right? So we're also going to move this observer forward, see if we can move that up here to really see where his army is. And let's build some more pylons. So what are we doing, guys? We're just building pylons wherever. It doesn't really matter. Now remember, if we wanted to have more of a macro follow-up, we could go double forge. We could have a third nexus. We could even build a third and fourth nexus. For now, though, we're focusing on this new version of the attack. So just holding down that Archon key. Once again, I'm being lazy and I keep morphing in odd numbers, but there we go. Just waited for the 150 gas to morph in the other one. So what are we going to do, guys? Move the observer in, try and get some vision. And this time, unlike that last game, we're going to wait for our gateways. So I'm selecting my gateways, and down here I can see if they're ready or not. These guys added to the main army key. Is he going to come out and fight? That's a pretty good army. My opponent's playing really good StarCraft, guys. Now his observer's out here. We're going to ignore that. We're going to queue up there. And look, he can't even see it. How good's that? And there we go, 10 zealots. And what do? We click those in the mineral line, and now we ignore them. We do not look at that. That's a problem that's queued up for our opponent to deal with. All we want to do is move this main army in, okay, guys? So what are we going to do? We're going to move in and always try to get rid of the shield battery, because remember, a overcharge can come down off that. We're trying to move right on in here. What's happening in the main? Since there's nothing happening there, I might as well go take a look. Okay, so the zealots are fighting my opponent. Let's warp in another 10 zealots there. And I'm killing everything on the low ground. And look, they're coming down. So we're going to click those guys in there as well. Now, in this scenario, a lot of people start clicking their whole control group. Most of my guys are fighting, but these guys on the right aren't. So notice I box the guys on the right, and I bring them in. And that's something you want to try and build a habit of. Stop doing this. If you want some units to do something different, stop doing this whole control group. This is good for moving your army around the map, but once the fight starts, unless it's, I've got overwhelming numbers and I'm just trying to move in so everything's attacking, you want to do a little bit more of, okay, these units are on the right doing dumb stuff, let's bring them forward. Okay, these guys, I want to move them up here so they're attacking up there from the low ground. Try to move your units around in manual boxes, and this is what most pro micro is about. A lot of players are always like, oh, should I have like 6 different control groups for every unit type in my army? You're going to notice most pros do what I do. It's your main army's on a key. These zealots I warped in, not getting put on any control group or anything like that. We're trying to just move those units in and just make sure they're all doing things that are decent. Likewise, you could be like, oh, this Archon's really weak. Pull it back or something like that as well. GG's. Do units retarget when you A move while they're already attacking? They'll usually keep attacking the same thing. What do you mean retarget though, aim on? Like, it depends. So basically, there's different attack priorities. So like, units will attack enemy attack units that can attack them as a higher priority, right? So enemy probes, for instance, and that sort of stuff. So basically, what'll often happen to like get units to retarget, right, is like, so if you have clicked a zealot to just attack the nexus, you said attack that zealot, it'll ignore, the zealot just attacks the nexus, it'll ignore an enemy zealot that comes and attacks it, right? But if you've just put it on A move, it'll automatically change targets to anything that attacks it. It'll go for probes first of all, it'll go for units, attacking things that can attack it, then workers, and then buildings. Now, I'm not sure if it has a difference between, say, a spellcaster and an attacking unit. I think it counts them as the same. You'll have, for instance, though, if it's a flying unit, it's going to fight something that shoots up before something that can't shoot up, right? So a Mutalisk will go after a Marine rather than going after the other thing. Yeah. So sometimes if your units are attacking the wrong things, you will reposition. So one example of that is like, if you run in with Marines to focus down Queens and then Zerglings run in to surround, you'll actually stutter step your Marines back, because each time you move, you're getting them to retarget on whatever's closer to them, which is going to be the Zerglings. Whereas if they keep shooting the really tanky Queens, it's obviously not that important because Queens don't do much damage, but Zerglings do crazy damage. So there are times where you'll kind of like shift your army to try and get them to attack the units that are closer to them, rather than continuing to like waste their time attacking something else. But yeah, So we can see here, the prism in the main is so deadly, guys. Even if you end up whiffing the attack on the front, you often kill all the probes in the main base, and your opponent is just, you know, super dead because of that. Now, my opponent here, Shadow, played some really nice macro. I was really impressed with their play. Their charge was really late, though. They were on, you know, quite a lot of zealots that obviously aren't good without charge upgrade. And this is kind of why, you know, I see players here, and I've come across a lot who look like they have no idea what they're doing. This is one of the players who looks like they have a really good idea of how to macro and build up. But because they don't have any attack timing they're building towards, I don't see, like, I'm like, you know, when are they going to turn that 2 base economy and that 3 base economy into an attack? It feels like there is no time. They're kind of just, I'll drop a cannon at each base, I'll build some units, I guess I'll make a double forge. And this is why having that attack timing we're heading towards is just such a, hey, if we spend our money well, we're just bopping these nerds. Alright guys, so we're continuing to scout for general tells, focus on the macro cycle. Hopefully we get someone being aggressive so we can react to it. Improving the attack, kind of focusing on, I think it's a multi-prong attack, but it's a set system that we're building. It's a set play, and I think that's what I'm really trying to highlight at the moment in these last few games, right? It's just this very clear idea of that. We've got a Terran now, Squiggy Baby, a Gold League player starting to play gold. It's awesome. You know what, guys? Civ 5 music tomorrow. I haven't played much Civ 5 actually. Should Civ 6 is the latest one, right? I'm confused. I'm in a mental blank. Anyway, I'm not sure B2GM's in the stream title. Can you guys remind me to check that after this game? But for now, guys, let's focus on it. All right, same as always. This is going to be a PvT. And we've got this guy is already on a hotkey. So that's control 1, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4, camera 5. We've got up to 16 probes queued up. We go build a gateway. And I'm using the mini-map this time. Did you guys see that? I went shift-click to do a bit of a route and to go behind the natural. Hardcore! If you're not comfortable with your mouse accuracy to do that, you don't have to, but it's kind of good. And if you struggle with that, it's probably a good sign your mouse sensitivity is a bit too high. So if you really struggle with that, where you're like, your mouse is just jumping too far across the mini-map that you can't use it, probably your sensitivity is a bit too high. So remember, we rally our 19th drone down there, and then we'll rally back to the gas. We look in here, we see 2 barracks. That's a sign of aggression. Why? Because if our opponent has 2 barracks, they can make lots of fighting things. Now, because he's chasing me, and he's even building a 3rd barracks, we're going to run our probe around. We've just queued it to do a big circle. Now let's go back here. We build a nexus. What do we build after the nexus? We add that to our control group, center the camera location, build a cyber core. Now, I'm not changing the build order, guys. Why? Even though he's got 3 barracks, he did take a gas, and our normal build is pretty solid, right? So we build a probe, we build a gas, we build another probe, we then build a pylon on 22, so 21-second gas, 22-second pylon, we rallied there. And as long as we hit our build nice and tight, we should be pretty good. So notice we're still being followed. So here's a cute thing, guys. If they keep following you, do this. You fight until you lose all your shields, and then you queue to run away. So I'm going to run away there, and then I'm queuing up an A move back. And that means he's going to regen his shields, and then go back to turn around and fight. We can chrono. And remember, guys, the moment we get 100 gas, we want to build a robo. And I'm actually going to build that up here in the main, rather than the Wolof, because we're playing a Terran. Wolof's not important versus Terran, okay? Now, notice he stopped chasing me, so we can send this probe back over here. Try to see what's up. Building another stalker now. Let's make sure we add that to our control group, and let's rally a little bit further back. Now, this guy, still on control group 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we're double tapping 1, double tapping 2. And check it out, we see an expansion. Isn't that great? Okay, so we know, even though our opponent could still be quite aggressive, I'm not going to change my build at all, because if they expand before 330, we feel safe, we feel confident that our build can stop it. Now, this pylon placement's a bit dodgy. You can see I can't fit a lot of gateways on this. So a little bit silly of me to not have just put that out in the open. Let's build that 3rd stalker. And we're going to build the observer anyway, which is going to confirm if a big attack comes out. Our build order is so safe. It's actually insane. So safe. We're going to build that observer, build another pylon, And from here, we can start doing macro cycles. So 4 probes every 25 seconds plus an extra pylon if we need it, or even 2 pylons potentially. So 1, 2, 3, 4 probes, and we can build another pylon. Build that here. Now remember, we did see 3 barracks. So if you're worried at all, just throw a shield battery down. I'll throw a shield battery down there, okay? Why not? Let's make an immortal now. Notice we're selecting our robo, and we're just gonna rally it down here. And we'll warp in 3 stalkers in the near future as well. But for now, let's just build another pylon. So we are almost supply block. Keep queuing up probes. And it's time for this observer. See, we've still got that scouting probe on control too. Let's make the observer on that key. And let's go look around. So we want to go into the main and then back down here. And we see, okay, so he's doing 3 barracks and medevac production and a factory. All right, I think this guy's doing B2GM. Shout out to Squiggle. All right, so let's make 3 more stalkers and let's continue the build. All right, so I don't really see an attack coming yet, guys. We're just gonna set the observer up there. If we see a big attack coming, we'll react to it. But in the meantime, let's just keep building probes. Let's put our workers on gas here, and that should cap us out. 44 probes, beautiful. All right, guys, so we can queue another immortal if we want, or we can start the gateways, then do the immortal, whichever way you prefer. Let's cancel the immortal. I've been doing the gateways first. I think it's more important to get the gateways. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Notice there, if I built that gateway, I was going to get trapped. I accidentally created a little hole for myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gateways. Control click, add to the control group, get the Templar Archives, and then we want to build those extra pylons, right? Beautiful. All right, guys. Charge. We forgot to start. Uh-oh, big attack coming our way. Oh, shit. I'm actually not ready for this at all, guys. So, good chance we get supply blocked. So, we're going to build even more pylons. What we can do here... Let's make an immortal. So, we can try to fight a little bit and then pull back, right? So, we can do a bit of defensive starter step. See if we can scare him into sieging up. What are we doing, guys? We're just making zealots, okay? So keep making charge, 60 seconds away. That is the most important upgrade for us. And check it out, we scared him into sieging up really far away. Whew. So notice that I built extra pylons when I saw a push coming, because I was mentally preparing, saying, look, I'm not ready to fight till charge is ready, and these gateways have started warping in. We can just make the warp prism now as well, just so we're ready to counterattack straight away. To give up this front of my wall and to fall back behind the nexus and basically keep falling back. And if I had to do that, I would have had to buy time, but it meant those 2 pylons would have gone down. So I built extra pylons, and I already have tons of pylons on the way. So you could argue that was like me, you know, being overly safe. But notice we've pulled back, and this is something I talk a lot about. If you guys haven't watched, if this is your first StarCraft educational content of mine that you've watched, go check out the Welcome to StarCraft videos, because I talk about this in quite a lot of detail in the common mistakes people make versus rushes video, I believe is what it's called. If someone could link that up in the chat, let me know. And remind me to link that into the document at the end of this game, please, Twitch chat. If someone could do that, I would really appreciate it. Because otherwise I'm gonna kind of forget. So guys, we're gonna make some Archons here. And you might be like, man, I'm pinned back. Guess what? This is the normal attack I do. The only difference is that my opponent has come to my side of the map. Oh, awesome. So what are we gonna do, guys? A move. That's it. My opponent hasn't really reinforced his army in a couple minutes. Now he's reinforcing, but we've caught him not watching. He's gonna stem, but he's caught way out, and my army's just a little bit better. And we can, of course, now continue across the map. We'll keep warping in zealots. This has become a slow warp in pylon, this front one, because we lost the gateway. Let's take a 3rd base and a 4th base and a double forge, so we have the transition. And remember the rule, guys, we don't necessarily probe those up straight away. But that just gives us a transition available. Never A-move across the map, guys. That was some noob shit. I A-moved across the map. That means your fast units will engage first. So I pulled back, grouped my army up. Let's try and group that army up, and now you A-move it. There we go. And remember, use shift to tell that warp prism to siege up, nice and far forward. And we can warp more zealots into the fight. Control click, shift 1, add them to our army group, even in the middle of the fight, being nice and organized. And what are we doing, guys? We're trying to move up this ramp. We're just going to try and click that reactor down. So once that's down, we can move into the base and tear them apart. So let's give a little bit of context, because the 3 barracks is kind of scary. So the thing is, guys, I know that if someone goes 3 barracks and doesn't have gas, then they're just making tons of Marines, and I'm really worried. Especially until I see the command center. But because he's got gas, well, what's the gas for? If you think about it, that's a problem. So it's not that scary. It's also not that scary because the barracks are in his base, which means he has to walk out the front and walk all the way across to my natural. Whereas if these barracks are out over here, completely different story, guys. If I scout, no barracks in his base, no gas, I'm not even building the Nexus. I'm going Cybercore, build 2 Zealots, build extra gateways, build shield batteries. So we're doing all of this stuff, right? But in this case, we didn't need to do that because the buildings are at home. And it's just an inefficient build order from my opponent in terms of he's gone the command center, he's gone 3 barracks, then the command center. So it's just kind of not lined up quite as well, right? So the thing is, well, you might be like, well, couldn't those 3 racks still have been scary? Yeah, kind of. But you've got to remember that my probe comes back in here, right? I'd queued it up to automatically kill the SCV if the SCV kept chasing me. I looked over and was like, oh, we ran the SCV away. And I just came back in and was like, well, if I see the Marines moving out, maybe I build a shield battery. And right now, right? Maybe I build an Immortal before I build an Observer. These are some little changes that I could make there. And that's always something which you might be like, well, Pig, how do I know all this? How do I do all this? Look at the document. What if we see a sign of aggression? Always you want to make a judgment. Do I think this attack could hit sooner than our production will be ready? So if you think about the big weak point of this build, right? There's early on, we're just building Stalkers off 1 gate, so you're a little light until you get that Immortal and then the extra 3 Stalkers warped in, right? So there's 6 Stalkers in the Immortal, and then there is a big gap in army production while you build 7 gateways. Get your gases on your natural, get your Twilight, get your Charge, get your Templar Archives, get all these pylons. And then your army explodes. But there is a gap between those units and those strong points, right? So this is why we have a build order that we do. So we automatically know I'm really strong. If my opponent goes for a little pressure, right, when I warp in my 3 Stalks and my Immortal, we're good, right? That's awesome. But on the other hand, what if we want to do it the other way? What if, sorry, getting distracted. I shouldn't be reading chat. Finish the point, then read chat. What was I say? Yeah, basically, if I go, this attack's going to hit me before I get those gateways up, what do? We would start producing units immediately. We'd try to get the gateways steadily. So we'd basically say, keep warping in, keep making Immortals, and maybe don't make Zealots as well, because Zealots pre-charge suck, right? But I might chrono charge a bit harder than normal, right? So we might chrono charge. And we might just add like, oh, I don't have enough money to build all the gateways at once. Because you're warping in units, you need to be building more pylons. So you like warp in 3 Stalkers, build an Immortal, build 2 pylons. And because of that, maybe you only get to 5 or 6 gateways. Maybe you only get to add 3 more gateways to your production. You don't have the full 10 gates. Maybe you don't have the Templar Archives. But what you have is a lot more units that you've produced. So you have just more raw fighting power. And so you're basically closing the gap on that greed. Rather than there being this big scary moment where you're on, 6 Stalkers and an Immortal. So check it out, guys. Let's take a look at that in this game. Notice about 4:30, we get 6 Stalkers and Immortal. Really great point. Good, strong little force, especially with the battery backing me up. But check it out. There is a pretty big window, right, guys? 5 minutes, 6 minutes. My army has not improved in the last minute and a half at all. That's a long time in StarCraft. We're now warping in 3 slow Zealots. They don't even have charge. It's a scary moment. If my opponent had actually just kept up their bioproduction really well, rallied across the map, I might not have been able to go out to fight them. And they could have got a bunch of bunkers and tanks outside, and this could have been a really hard game for me. This could have been a very tough game, for sure. Just because they were hitting me at just this really nice time. But basically, I know enough looking at this game to know my opponent couldn't really support this production. So even though they got stim and shields and they're doing pretty decently overall, I know that because their command center was so late, their build order is just a bit too inefficient and they can't really afford to produce out of even half of these production facilities because they never really got that natural saturated. So it becomes a bit of a, real erratic production for them. And then because they don't push in and force the fight straight away, look at what happens in terms of army power. So I started warping in those Zealots, and then we're going to do a big Zealot warp in and charge is going to kick in. Then we're going to add the Archons. And it's just kind of like, oh shit, my army's just so much better than my opponent's. even if my opponent had reinforced all their stuff together, you can see that I'm up in supply. We're spending all that money. We got away with the 10 gateway greed. So even though I saw that army move out and was a little worried, because I knew it was hitting me right when I was weak, because my opponent kind of got scared by my army moving out front, sieged really far away, and was really just being very afraid to push in, I was able to just get through that dangerous point in the game, make a ton of units, and then overwhelm. I don't know why Pig built Immortals, says Monoidal Category, because that's part of the build. They're just a good unit. Yeah. So I think you were saying because they're not good versus Marines, right? But the thing is, my opponent was probably going to be building Marauders as well. So they're good versus tanks, they're good versus Marauders, and it's just a very tanky unit. So an Immortal out front of, say, a Shield Battery Overcharge, it's also a 6-range unit, so it's you know, pretty damn good range as well. It'll just never die if it's getting healed by Battery Overcharge. So it's such a good unit to just be out front. Is it the most amazing versus Marines? No. But the important problem that a lot of people make is I need to counter my opponent's army. I need to counter my opponent's army. They think that's where the strategy comes from in StarCraft. You can try to counter your opponent's army, but you should only be doing that off a solid basis. So a lot of people try to kind of, what I always say is bend over backwards. They try to adapt to everything in the game. And in the game where you have to build your economy, manage your upgrades, manage all these different efficiencies, guess what? If you're trying to do everything at once, you're doing nothing well, right? So that's why you focus on doing a solid basis, a solid plan. And then as we get better, we're going to do more like, okay, this guy's getting a big bio army. My army's not going to scale too well versus that. This is not great. So for instance, if I'm just making unupgraded Stalkers and Immortals, constantly going, oh, he's going to attack, oh, he's going to attack, and he hits me with like 50 Stim Marines with shields and +1, and I only have unupgraded Stalkers and Immortals, I'm going to be pretty upset because that's not a good army for me, right? Those units don't scale. Versus 10, 15 Marines, it's fine, but as they get bigger Marines, their damage output is just so much higher, right? But I could add a Guardian Shield in there. -2 damage on all those Marines attacks, massive. Force Fields could split their army, right? Archon Zealot, not the greatest versus Marines. It does really well if you have enough numbers, but it's really a brute force on both sides. Whoever has the higher number will kill the opponent's units really quickly. But I could go Colossus or Storm or something like that as well if I was dealing with lots and lots of Marines. But a lot of people try to counter their opponent from the get-go, and they're so inefficient that it doesn't matter if they build the counter units or not, because the way they get there is too awkward, right? When do you build Archon? Archon, says Alakazam. As you can see, it's the exact same time every game. So, well, when is that? Basically, it's the exact same build I do every single game. Every time, sometimes I've only got one Immortal because I forgot the second Immortal or something, but basically it's, you can see that once my Gateways and my Templar Archives are up, I'm just warping Zealots, I'm warping Zealots, my Warp Prism's out, and normally I go warping the Archons outside their base just before I attack, and I normally have enough for 4 or 5 Archons. So if you think about it, 300 gas per Archon, 5 Archons is 1500 gas, 3 Archons, 1200 gas. Now in this case, I just applied that same theory to this scenario, where I'm fighting a little bit earlier than I normally do because he's at my base, but I say, well, I should still make Archons before I fight. I've got the gas, they're a great unit, so I warp in Archons here just before I fight. Now obviously, what if we're not fighting? I could still just make the Archons. You've got 1000+ gas. It's up to you exactly what you choose as a rule there. I think the important thing is not to just try and blindly copy things that people do. If you're like, man, but I'm not sure when to do this, choose your own rule that makes sense for you, and you're going to get way more value out of that, rather than asking someone else, when should I do this? Come up with your own idea of, I actually think I want to skip that and go Psystorm. Justify your reason, and I guarantee if you apply that in your games, you'll do really well. As long as you're applying your strategy with some sort of inherent logic, you're going to really kick ass. So it's really about kind of applying this just ongoing critical thinking and logic, and just making sure you're doing things that make sense. All right, let's go. Yeah, definitely could have made a Guardian Shield. So I keep forgetting the Sentry today. Remember, we added that in at the end of the last one, guys. Okay, last game in Silver 1, we got to add the Sentry in this time, if it's a Terran, okay? Pylon and Control Group. All right, the early game of this one's going to be a little messy, and thank you, Colossus, for posting that one in the chat. I will post that up there shortly. Can I pause for a sec?
You must construct additional pylons.
Thank you. Just 30 seconds. All right, we're just going to go over there, guys. Grab my video, chuck that in here, and Silver 3, silver 1. Okay, alright. Improving our attack. Let's go. Alright. Common mistakes versus rushes. In that video we talk about like pull back, don't fight until you're ready, that sort of stuff. Wasn't there something else I wanted to edit as well, guys? I feel like there was another thing that I've forgotten. What ladder level is very hard AI? I actually have no idea. I would say just get on the ladder and have fun with it. The worst thing that happens is you lose games, then you play easier opponents, which is great because then you're practicing at your level. Don't ever worry about hopping on the ladder and losing games. It's the funnest thing in the world. You'll have so much fun. Anyways, there we go. Thank you, thank you. Some people say low silver maybe for that. All right. All right, guys, here we go. So a little bit of a distraction at the start there, but we chucked that link to the common mistakes video in the document. Whew. All right, let's just slow down now. All right, so we did gateway chrono. Our opponent scouted us very early. Natural third. Now, if they have a probe here, I do like to attack that probe if it's really early, because that's kind of suspicious, guys. Where'd he go? Suspicious. Uh-oh. No forge, though, so that's okay. What are you building, mate? All right. I think this is actually kind of chilled, guys. I think I'm just freaking out for no reason. If there's no forge, we don't need to freak out. So we go Nexus. Then we go for the Cyber Core. And then we go back up here to mining. Okay. Resume that. And look at that. Opponent's gone for a Nexus. Totally normal build. Don't need to worry at all, guys. 21-second gas. Queue up another probe. Let's rally it up there. Actually, we can rally it here because 22-second pylon. And this time, plenty of production space. Oh, beautiful. Keep building probes. And remember, this guy goes back as well. So there we go, guys. We've got a really nice opening here. Our opponent went for a nice quick Nexus. Looks like a very similar build order to mine. So we get to play a really standard build order here. Oh, I wanted to have B2GM doc in the title. That's the other thing that I forgot today. That's okay. I'll add it in after this one. It's not a big deal. You guys can find it. People are linking it up in the chat for everyone as well. Right? No one's linking it up. Oh, God. Please link it for the noobs, guys. Thank you. The noobs in chat are just like, where's the document? People are like, go to the YouTube video, then click the description. All right, let's chrono boost another Stalker. Actually, that's normally probes. Slight change to the build order. This is what happens when I read chat. What can I say? Don't read Twitch chat. Don't talk to your kids. If they come in the room, guys, while you're playing StarCraft, tell them to piss off because important things are happening. So we're going to queue up a third Stalker. We've got some probes queued. Now, of course, we're past 33 supply, guys. So what are we going to do? Well, let's grab this next probe that pops out. Same as always. Let's pop those 2 gateways down. You can see if I put them there, there's still space for more gateways in between later on. Queue up more probes. And because we're going to chrono boost one as well, we're queuing up even extra probes here. Now remember, we've already got that robo hotkey. We're going to rally that to the front of the base. And we've got 3 Stalkers. Beautiful. Let's keep building probes. Let's build another pylon there. And maybe build one. Build a pylon down here as well. Okay. So, at this point, we want to queue up an Immortal. And you should feel really good, by the way, if you hit those resources right as the previous unit's done. You shouldn't feel good about hitting that supply block like a noob, though, and chrono boosting into it. But we see pro gamers do it all the time, so I'm not going to feel too bad about that, guys. We all make a derp sometimes. Seen Parting do it many times. Alright, so we're going to warp in those 3 Stalkers. The Immortal, when it comes out, will complete that set of units. They'll be ready right on time. You can take those gases. Take these gases. One of the easiest things to skip if we're under threat from our opponent is these gases, guys. All that hurts us from is the number of Archons we can morph. If you think about it, getting those gases is going to slow us down from getting towards some of the other things.
Thanks for the Bezos box.
Couple Stalkers coming, but that didn't look scary. Now, why didn't that look scary, guys? Because I know I have 6 Stalkers and an Immortal. So I'm not going to be intimidated from what appeared to be 4 or 5 Stalkers moving out, right? So let's scout. Sign of Greed because it's attack. Sign of Greed because he's got a Nexus. Sign of Greed, Forge. Sign of Greed, second tech tree. Oh, okay, so I can look at that and say this player is actually playing very greedy, which means I'm doing a 2-base build, they're doing a 2-base build, they're investing in more tech paths because they're getting the upgrades. Oh, zero threat. I can just follow my game plan as usual. When we're doing more macro-focused builds, we can start to do a bit more reacting and either being more aggressive, switching gears, or being greedier in response to this. For now, because our build order is pretty preset, most of our scouting is basically like, hey, do I have anything to worry about? And if the answer is no, we're like, awesome, continue with the build. And that's what this is. We haven't really seen a lot of aggressive play from our opponents. Check it out. So we're going to put this in front. And what are we missing? So we just built the pylons. We do need the Templar Archives, right? Yeah. So Templar Archives goes down. We're at 45 probes. Let's put another pylon here. And awesome. Start making Zealots. I mean, this is just such a beautiful one-size-fits-all solution. She does have Stalkers and Immortals. We should probably be not only making another Immortal because they're great versus Stalkers and they kill enemy Immortals really fast. We should probably make a Sentry, shouldn't we? We should probably make a Sentry and make a Guardian Shield. All right, we'll do it. Fine. Let's queue up that Warp Prism straight away just to make sure we don't forget it. Keep making Zealots. Someone out there is like, thank the Lord he's going to actually use Guardian Shield for once. This spell would be so efficient in so many of these games. Protoss has a lot of cool things like that as well. As you remember to add them in, you're just like, oh shit, this actually adds crazy efficiency. So we'll chrono that Warp Prism. We need that Warp Prism before we attack his army. Cerberus' army is pretty big. But the problem is they're building Zealots. Remember, I've talked a lot about, they're building Stalkers. Stalkers don't scale well, guys. They scale very poorly. Very, very poorly. Whereas Zealots are just amazing bang for buck. They're so cheap. And because he's so far out front his base, you know what we're going to do, right, guys? We're going to go warp Zealots in the corner of his base, and he's going to be super far out of position. I almost feel bad for him. I almost feel bad. So we're choosing our attack position here. Oh, he had a spotting unit. Saw me move out as well. Oh, very cool. All right, guys, I'm chrono boosting all the gateways, but I'm out of chrono boost, so never mind. So we're going to make some Archons. So that's enough for 3 Archons. And I think that'll do us this time, even though I've got extra gas. And that's going to siege up there. And so what are we doing, guys? We're queuing the Warp Prism in. Our main army's moving forward. Our Observer, we've gone move there, shift surveillance mode. So it's automatically, look, hands off the Observer. It's going to siege up on its own. And check it out, guys. Click the Zealots in the main. I'm supply blocked, which is a bit derpy. And now we can just focus on this army on the front. Let's go. So we're just going to A-move up there. Try to box these units, move them in there. And notice we're trying to move right on top so we can get all that damage done. The opponent forgot to battery overcharge. Oh, wow, he got a Disruptor. And what do we do? If we feel there's nothing else to micro, guys, we just click these Zealots into the base. And if you want, you can actually do this. You can try and depower the production. Because that there is an Artosis, right? That's powering 5 gateways. So if we tell those Zealots to attack that, if you ever see an Artosis pylon, you can definitely click on that. So my opponent was making a pretty fancy composition. They were going Disruptors. They had a 3rd base, which already had some probes up on it. Really good play from my opponent. They had upgrades as well. The problem is they went for Blink Stalker Disruptor, which is a really advanced composition. And especially if you're playing against a Zealot style, how could my opponent defend this? Well, really easy. My opponent could easily have just walled off their base and just left a little opening, had all their units standing on the high ground right here as my units funnel through a tiny choke point, right? And they could also have gone Disruptors a lot earlier because the +1 upgrade and +2, I mean, awesome, you're getting cool upgrades. But it doesn't really make sense to be investing in those upgrades if you're super focused on tech. Why? What do I mean by that? Well, my opponent's exploding in gateways now, and they have a decent little Stalker count, but they're not playing safe. If they're just massing Blink Stalkers with +2, and they already had the gateways up and weren't bothering with the Robo Bay and weren't bothering with the DT Shrine, I'd be okay with their play because they're going a handful of workers more than me. Look, they're only up 3 workers. The 3rd base is an advantage, but it's not a massive advantage. And they shouldn't be probing right now, and they're not. So my opponent is trying to kind of say, oh, my opponent doesn't have a 3rd base. Let's not be too greedy. And look, he even had an Observer sitting over my base. So well done by Cerberus. Really cool play. But if he was just warping in Stalkers, had these gateways up a bit earlier, and then went, oh, big Zealot army as well, which he should have seen. Like I said, wall off. The batteries were fantastic. Should have had another pylon behind them, though, because if I killed that pylon, they would have been depowered. And then you activate battery overcharge, and you just keep blinking back your weak stalkers here. And if you've got enough stalkers, you can beat this army with just blink stalkers. But you need to use your battery overcharge and blink back. And if you're super pro, the whole point of blink, remember I always say it's for people who are playing at a very high level, is your stalkers should go out there and fight it in the middle of the map or even out here. And you can just keep blinking back your stalkers, and you're going to pick off a lot of my units before I even get to your base. Now, that all sounds really advanced, really reactive, really high level, and that's why you don't play that in Silver League. Or if you do, at least you do it in a simplified version. But why are we going Disruptors and Dark Templar and a third base and Stalkers and Immortals? It's because Cerberus, like most players out there, doesn't have a clear timing attack in mind, and because of that, it's going to really struggle to improve. Don't get me wrong, that player will improve. They will improve. They were doing a lot of things really well. They will get a lot better. I think they were in gold already, and they will get a lot better. Oh, they're smurfing. There's no way they're that level with how much stuff they built. Yeah, that player's smurfing, I think, right? Because they had a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think that player's smurfing. All right, they won't get better because they're smurfing. So no one. This is something I've noticed recently. I actually recorded an episode of Smurf Detective recently. And what I've started to realize in Smurf Detective is that most Smurfs are basically people who are afraid to make decisions. Because I look at their games and they just cannot make decisions. Well, these look like real losses. Yeah, no, it's a 6-minute game. That's weird because they're macroing so well. But I guess because they're trying to play Blink Stalkers every game, probably, right? Let's take a look. No, I mean, they're losing legit games here. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, that looks a bit like my build. A little bit like my build. Yeah, it looks like maybe they are watching Bronze GM. I don't know. Anyways, GG, well played. We make it to Gold League. I'm feeling good about that. I think what's nice there is we... did I make a sentry and forget to use Guardian Shield, guys? I did, didn't I? So for anyone out there who's like, Protoss is so hard, I need to use 7 different spells, and, you know, I need to use all the spells, it's so hard, how do I manage 6... Guys, watch me and learn. I never use Guardian Shield. Honestly, I've almost never used Guardian Shield in actual games as well, guys. I just don't even think about it. It's like literally just one of those things. Occasionally, I drop a Guardian Shield, but a lot of the time I don't even bother, man. So basically, yeah, I mean, should I use it there? Sure. Is it a great habit to build? Yes. It's not as good with Zealot Archon because they often run ahead of the sentry, but remember what I was teaching in the earlier episodes where it was like, move that sentry up behind those Zealots, get right up there, and you could usually have a good time. So anyway, we made it there, guys. In Gold League, what can we do to continue to build upon all this stuff that we've started learning today? So at the end of Silver, we started learning a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to continue it, but we're also going to try to mix in a little bit of harassment. We're going to try and start doing Reaper Wall-Offs first, Terran. We're still going to keep on doing... and high ground, main ramp, Wall-Offs first, Protoss. So we're going to start positioning our buildings differently for each matchup in Gold League, just to start building that habit. Some players don't do that until they're in Platinum or Diamond, and that's totally fine. But obviously, this is not really me showing. This is what you do exactly in this league. This is me showing you a smorgasbord of skills, which you guys will have to kind of bring into your own play at your own rate. And that's the whole point of it. But we're also going to continue the scouting. So what do I mean by that, guys? Scout for general tells. The signs of greed versus signs of aggression. Didn't see many signs of aggression in the previous games, did we? Reacting if we do see an attack coming. Improving our own attack. But also, we're going to be using a very different army. So guys, stay tuned for Gold League, where we also are going to be playing Sentry, Stalker, Colossus. That's going to be really exciting, guys. So I'll see you guys in Gold League.